Many traditions are being broken in this extraordinary James Hardie 1000, and maybe none sadder than it looks as though the marvellous streak of, if I can use the word streak with Peter Jansen without giving false ideas, of Peter Jansen and Larry Perkins, who've come second for 2 years in a row, and before that third, may have ended because you've got troubles, Peter. What's wrong?
Well, when the flag dropped, I got a good start, got around the corner, and the spark must have retarded, just flicked and retarded. I got around the corner, she wouldn't even pull. And I just sat there and I just counted 10 cars just going past me up the hill. And the whole time we've been pulling just third, can't even pull top going up the hill. So it's just been like that all the time, it's just got worse and worse. And to pull the distributor off and get the spark right would just take too much time. Anyway, I think it's about time to go and have a bit of Schweppes and a few cherry ripes and sit down and enjoy myself, because it's going to be a great day.
It might be this year in which Peter Jansen isn't the rooster, but the feather duster.
Yeah, a bit of a feather duster this time. Thank you a lot, Evan.
Bad luck, Peter, but it's great to see a contestant who's had such misfortune still the same old spark on the eye.
You better get hold of Muffin. Tell him the next time he knocks a chap and sends him off in an ambulance, we might blow him out of the car.
What happened?
Chap got hit down here with the ambulance with Muffin's car. It's gone off.
We'll pass on the message. Thank you. You're being called back to the pitch anyhow, Peter. Thank you very much. Peter Banson, back to you, Mike Rankin.
Thank you very much, Evan Green. Well, some drama there that we're just waiting to uncover. OK, we've picked up on our race leader, Dick Johnson, doing it nicely out in front.
1.5 minutes now ahead of Gary Rogers in car 11.
The Rogers and Benson Brown have been so consistent, running up there in the top 6 practically since the day started. Then, of course, we have the Bob Morris, John Fitzpatrick Channel 7 forward, running in 3rd place. Alan Moffat and Derek Bell in the Mazda in 4th. And then, of course, Alan Brown and Tony Edmondson, the National Sports Sedan champion, in 5th place. Just clear of the Falcon, number 30. That's Bill O'Brien and Gary Cook. Well, let's follow our race leader through, Dick Johnson. And I wonder what goes through the mind of Dick Johnson as he heads up to past that infamous part of the track last year that took him out of the race so savagely while leading the event. Dick Johnson is not really a complex man. He's a very determined race car driver. He felt that last year, after people around Australia responded to the telecast and, of course, offered a large amount of money to get his operation back on 4 wheels again, that he should really go and try and win the Australian Touring Car Championship for them. Well, he did just that. Not only did Dick Johnson go on to win the National Touring Car Championship with an absolute fantastic performance, he's also back to Mount Panorama at Bathurst. Johnson, of course, lives in Brisbane, just outside of Brisbane at Daisy Hill. Very unpretentious place. Dick Johnson, not like the regular teams, the big budget teams, does all of the work on his car with one mechanic at home. Dick Johnson can probably explain his own story.
Actually, before Bathurst last year, when the famous rock incident happened, I was always a dedicated motor racer. For many years, I've been racing for 15 odd years, and Bathurst actually last year set us going. We had a car that we'd built over a period of 6 months from an ex-police car that we ran reasonably well at the CRC in 1980 and came second, which was its first showing. And we arrived at Bathurst pretty confident of what the car was capable of. And naturally, everyone that knows about the rock destroyed the whole car and we had to start again. Actually, our setup is quite a bit different to the majority of the larger teams because we only have a 1 or 2 man operation here, which is at my own home. We're fortunate enough to be in an area where it doesn't affect anyone. Our neighbours never complain because we don't make any noise or anything like that. Well, as you can see, it's a reasonably small workshop, which is a garage of my home where everything else suffers, actually, because my actual road car gets left outside and the race car takes pride of place in the workshop. and we have our racks of tyres. We have to have everything reasonably well set up because of the confined space that we're working in, because things can tend to get pretty cluttered at times. But with the operation we had straight after Sandown, my mechanic Roy McDonald and myself, we jumped in the truck and we drove straight back from Sandown after the race and drove straight through to Brisbane here, where we continued to pull the car to pieces and get it ready for the James Hardie 1000 this weekend. Well, winning the James Hardie 1000 to me virtually means everything, because when I start and do something, I don't normally like to stop until such time as I've achieved what I've originally set out to do. And one of the things that I intended doing is winning the James Hardie 1000. Not once, not twice, but I want to win it 6 times, because Brock's won it 5 times, and I just want to be better than anyone else.
Prophetic words from Dick Johnson. There you had an opportunity to see how Dick Johnson puts his racing operation into work. We've also have the race continuing, a lot of pit activity, cars coming in and out, no one of significance that would affect the first 3 or 4 cars. There he is, True Blue. Down through the gears, coming back onto pit straight again. And I think we could have a pit stop on the cards for Dick Johnson. We might time that. Comes into the pit area.
Starting the clock now.
Okay, there'll be a driver change here. John French of Queensland takes over the running of the car for the second part. Doing it very orderly. They can afford to take a little extra time. At this stage, they hold quite the wood.
90 seconds when he went to the pits ahead of Gary Rogers, and a further 38 seconds call over Bob Morris.
Well, we'll spot for you whether Rogers can take over the lead while Johnson is in fact in the pits.
Well, the driver change has been completed. Another churn of fuel. Coming up 50 seconds. Consultation with the pit boss. Oh, look at that activity down pit road.
That's number 35, I think, that's causing all the problem down there.
That's the Alexander Mazda Rotary. There's KB. Bob Forbes, I would suggest, is at the wheel.
Okay, still looking for the Rogers car to go past the pit area.
It hasn't done so yet. We're up to 1:20 in the pits for Dick Johnson. Rogers, I would think, is going to come into view very shortly.
This is an extraordinarily long pit stop. Johnson shouting instructions to the crew. They've still got it jacked up.
Still no sign of Rogers. 1:45. There's Rogers.
Okay, Gary Rogers, number 11, now goes through to take over the lead. Okay, down to Evan Green.
A really long stop here, a man under the car. Dick Johnson getting very agitated with the amounts of time going. The instruction to John French to start the motor up. They're out, they've changed. Oh, no, not ready yet. They've got one oil filler still to clap up. Now it's done. And I'm very worried, Dick Johnson. That was a long pit stop. And a lot of responsibility on the shoulders of John French now. An old hand, though. He knows what it's all about. You can see the spill oil there. Mainly from added oil. I don't know if it's an oil leak or the fact that I just overfilled the car. We'll try and find that out. But that was a slow stop for Dick Johnson. I'll go over to the pit area if I can and see if I can have a word with him. He's very up there, throwing his gloves around. But let's just watch the scene here. I won't speak to him for a while. He's talking to his pit crew. You can see just in here, Dick Johnson, very agitated. He talks to the man about the time spent. He said, why were you doing that? There was no need to get that done. The man's under the car trying to fix something. They were giving warnings to John French that he's got new brakes. And it's a fairly heated discussion. Both so enthusiastic to try and win the race. An enormous amount of tension here. And Dick Johnson, whose very life is wrapped up with success in the Bathurst race, terribly concerned at the amount of time that they lost in the pits. He will still hold the lead, but it's touch and go at Bathurst. The old saying still applies. You don't win them on the track, but you lose them in the pits. Dick Johnson, hair wet with perspiration. We'll bring him over to the camera now. Dick, that was a long spell at the wheel and a long spell in the pits.
Mate, that was stupid. You know, they should have just kept going. There was nothing wrong with the thing. It's only an oil leak when you stop the engine, because it's just got, on the inlet side of the oil pump, it leaks, but when it's sucking, it doesn't leak a drop. They buggerised around here and tried to fix it. Well, you know, that's just a waste of time. The rest of the car is absolutely magnificent.
Put new brake pads in?
No way. They're brand new.
What did you tell John French before he went out? Any special instructions?
I just said, look, we're only using 6.5. You can do it on your ear. I use third gear up through the cutting, the whole deal, and it's just really great.
You're in front. You'd still be in front after that stop.
I sincerely hope so.
When will you believe you've got this race won?
When we finish across the line, when that flag goes down, not before.
And until then?
Until then, who knows?
How does it feel to be in the lead when it means so much to you, Nick?
Well, we're doing it very easy, and I'm sure that French is just real easy on the car, which he always is. There'll be absolutely no problems at all. None whatsoever.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just a touch of wishful thinking there from Dick Johnson, because that pit stop was 2 minutes and 20 seconds and 2 cars went through while he was in there. Gary Rogers, first of all, he's now the race leader and picking up the first of his Coca-Cola bottle as lap money. Bob Morris also went through and is in second spot ahead of John French now at the wheel of car 17, the True Blue Falcon. There is Johnson-French entry along pit straight. In third position on the track at the present time. The margin between first and second, Rogers and Morris, is 16 seconds.
We'll take a break and return with more entertaining action in the pits and on the track. The James Hardie 1000. Bathurst, welcome back. On screen we have Bobby Morris in the number 7 Ford, heading up towards Castrol. Morris at this stage running in second in the race, 16 seconds behind the race leader Gary Rogers. And the gap between the race leader and John French in Dick Johnson's car is in fact 25 seconds.
That's between second and third.
Sorry, between second and
41
third.
seconds all up between the leader and Johnson's entry.
So that's a gap that John French is going to have to pull back in his driving stint. I don't think that they really want to stretch the car, but that's the deficit, and that's what they'll have to do if they want to take the lead back again.
Both Rogers and Morris, of course, have got that pit stop to come. But a quick stop, and then if they only take on fuel and maybe change 1 or 2 tyres, they could be in and out in 40 seconds, 45 seconds.
It's been a very strong performance, in fact, from Gary Rogers and Clive Benson Brown. And the untried and unsorted Bob Morris having its first, Bob Morris car, number 7, having its first run in competition here this weekend. And it's running remarkably strong in second place. And, of course, the True Blue entry in third, Dick Johnson, and, of course, John French at the wheel at the moment. Another of the Recar teams into the pit area at the moment. I think that's the Scotty Taylor car. It's the first time we've had a chance to see Taylor in the pits. There's Morris heading on down Conrod Straight, heading in the direction of Pitt Straight. And that car has been running remarkably strong. John Fitzpatrick at the wheel now, doing the second stint after Bob drove the first.
There are now 3 of the 6-cylinder or rotary cars in the top 10 on the track. Hardie and computer readout. Rogers in the lead. 76 laps. And Commodore from Falcon and Bob Morris car 7, and Falcon and Johnson and French car 17. And then the first of the rotaries, Alan Moffat car 43. The start was in Mazda. Then a Camaro. Ron Dixon has been lurking in there. His car's been running extremely well. The other car in his team's been having quite a few problems and has been in and out of the pits a few times. That's the one with Graham Moore and Steve Diamond sharing the driving.
Okay, we've caught one of the little incidents up in the top part of the circuit, which we'll replay in for you in a second or two. Okay. In the dipper. Let's just have a look. Holy poly. That's the way to bend the front end on them. But anyway, couldn't pick up the driver. Was off and going again. Back to John Fitzpatrick, co-winner here in 1976 with Bob Morris. Made a couple of visits here. Teamed with Alan Moffat, of course. And had all sorts of problems. Never really got to drive last year. And the previous year, of course, was up there running strongly when the engine in the Ford expired. Okay, as we go across the Phillips scoreboard, we'll give you an update, of course, with the cars and how they are running in their various positions.
78 laps is the leading situation at the moment, and you'll find that on 78 laps we've got car 11, Gary Rogers, car 7, Bob Morris, and also car 17, John French, at the wheel of the True Blue Falcon at the moment as we pan across. 77 lap situation you won't see on your screen for a little time yet, because as we pan across we'll pick up car 43, and on the colour code there in the orange bracket you'll find it about to come onto your screen now, and that's Alan Moffat's Mazda just ticking up onto the 78th lap. Peter Williamson in car 77 in the green colour code there is leading the 4-cylinder class in his Toyota Celica, and he has a 3-lap call at the present stage in that class situation over car 50, which is the Alfetta GTV being driven by Gary Leggett and Phil McDonald.
Morris heads off. We'll keep a quick check on the gap between Gary Rogers and, of course, Bobby Morris, running 1-2 at this stage.
13.96 seconds between Rogers and Morris. So Morris, in fact, is closing, because that gap just a lap or two back was about 3 seconds bigger than that.
Okay, well, Morris would be kept well aware of the situation in the pits. They don't want Rogers, who's really cat amongst pigeons at the moment, to get too far away from them so they can't challenge. And, of course, I think John French will be called upon to also pull back the deficit as quickly as he can. Okay, another one in the pits. This is the Joe Moore and Christine Gibson entry. We've already dealt with Fred Gibson, who's been driving in the pit area, who has been driving, of course, the Datsun. And Chris Gibson. And out goes that car. Quite an interesting combination. One of the fastest young ladies in motorsport. She prefers not to talk so much about her deeds in motorsport, but to get out there and drive. Chris Gibson and Joe Moore in the tavern entry continue with the race back into competition again.
Closing on the race leader Gary Rogers. The gap sneaking down 15.97 seconds, just a couple of laps back now, down to 13.96. And with got the clocks running to see just what happens with that gap in the next few laps as the race continues. Fitzpatrick at the wheel, car 7. Into the braking area.
Well, I think that gap could be coming down again, because Morris definitely appears to be making some inroads on the outright lead. Gary Rogers just heading up Mountain Straight up towards Castrol at this very moment. And John Fitzpatrick a little tail happy there as he got through Hell Corner and heads up in the direction of the race leader. So they're not separated by too much at all. Gary Rogers in the Commodore and Bob Morris in second.
And tailing Fitzpatrick up the mountain with about 100 metres astern of him is 0.5. Peter Brock, but of course Brock about 9 laps down on the leader situation.
Okay, let's go to the pit area, Evan Green, and hopefully we might even have a little chat with Chris Gibson.
In the pits after a very hot spell on the wheel, Christine Gibson. How's it out there, Christine?
Oh, it's fine. I enjoyed the drive for the first time all weekend. The car's going just as well as it started, I'm sure. It's not a problem with it. I shouldn't be saying these sort of things.
Now, you were telling me before the race that your car, which is Falcon number 20, had a problem in that it didn't have enough tyres, or certainly not the right tyres. What have you done to overcome that?
Well, we've begged, borrowed and stole a couple. We've got enough to get us through using a couple of worn rear ones, which we hope will get us through to the end of the race. We're pretty right. We think actually the tyre wear is very low today, even though it's fairly warm, but it's the tyres are pretty good. They're not wearing.
You've been running in Bathurst since, 1968. Can you remember a race where so many of the leaders were going out?
No, it was unbelievable this morning. In most years, at least 3 or 4 of the first 5 are still there at the end, And this year, I can't believe that they were swapping around so much. And it was such a hard race. I mean, that first 10 laps was just a sprint.
Christian, you have 2 young daughters. Where are they today?
They're watching Mum. They should be at home waving on the television. I was supposed to wave and say hello, you see.
How old are they?
They're 6 and 4.
Well, you give a message, and when you finish, it's back to Mike Raymond.
Hello, darlings, and I'll be home first thing in the morning.
Thank you very much, Chris. The young lady of motorsport and young mother of motorsport too, and she's done a tremendous job. Okay, the race continues. There's our race leader. He follows through. Bob Morris is closing, and so too is Johnny Frenzer. There's more action to come when we come back live to Mount Panorama of Bathurst. welcome back to Mount Panorama. Here's our race leader, Gary Rogers, teaming with Clive Benson Brown and the Commodore, sponsored by the Launceston Hotel. And they're doing very, very well indeed. In fact, I think they've now taken over the second segment of lap scoring money, presented by Ingersoll Rand. And there's certainly a lot of money to be won. Because of their lead in the last lap, they've also picked up the Pope Motorola Communication Award, and that's worth $500. So it's a good day for Gary Rogers. And he's looking good, but the most interesting point about it is the fact that the gap between Gary Rogers and second place Bobby Morris is now down to about 11 seconds, so there's not too much between them. And the gap also back to John French is also diminishing. So second place Bobby Morris and third place John French are certainly gaining on our race leader Gary Rogers. Now, they've done a fine job. One of the best turned out Commodores here at Bathurst, running very, very smoothly indeed. Not been overdriven, conservatively driven by Gary Rogers and Clive Benson Brown. Getting over the top of the mountain, being waved, of course, and we have another one of the Marshall's cars on the course. There wasn't too much in that, let me tell you. Swinging over the top of the mountain, and I think that at this stage Gary would be well aware. Looks like Albert Sims Scrap Metal Yard and the collectors at the top of the mountain. Okay, Gary Rogers swinging down through the S's. Fans up there, particularly the Ford fans, warming to the idea of two Fords coming up to challenge the Commodore. In the lap leader contest, of course, that are sponsored by Coca-Cola bottlers, Ingersoll Rand, the Dick Johnson-John French combination have already picked up $2,800. The Bartlett Forbes combination, $850, and Rogers and Benson Brown, $350. Peter Brock, of course, with $100 for the early position. So those positions courtesy of IBM at 1:20, so we're 1 minute up on our update. Okay, heading down Conrod Straight, still out in front, Gary Rogers and the Launceston Hotel car. Well, of course, the fortunes of many drivers, the unsung heroes. Last year, I think it was Paul Golson who came into contention in third place late in the race. Golson, of course, started in the race, was ready to hand his car over to the American driver Rodney Combs, but it expired almost in the same way that Alan Jones did. So the expensive international co-drivers have been forced once again to sit on the sidelines because a few of the cars haven't gone the distance required to even get the co-drivers a start. And that's bad luck indeed, because particularly in Combs' case, he was as quick as Golson. Okay, the gap again is now down to 9.64 seconds, so it has come down from 14, 12, 11, and now 9.64. So John Fitzpatrick is starting to haul in the race leader Gary Rogers. Rogers at this stage hasn't put a foot wrong. He's driven the car well. Won't take too long before you can catch sight of our second place Bobby Morris, and not far back behind them, of course, is our third place driver on the road, and that is John French, co-driver to Dick Johnson. Okay, he swings across the top of the mountain, still leading in the index of performance, which of course is sponsored by Channel 7, $5,000 to the car or drivers who registered the best performance on handicap, that is still being led by Alan Moffat and Derek Bell in the Mazda RX-7. In second place is the Celica of Williamson and Smith, and in third place Rogers and Benson Brown. Okay, let's go for an update in the pits with Evan Green.
Our race analyst John Shepherd is a highly technical man, but it seems he's been delving into the realms of superstition. You've come up with some interesting facts, John.
It's really intriguing, Evan. We've got Peter Brock told me before, this is his 13th Bathurst, so he obviously thinks he's in a lot of trouble. Bobby Morris has got all the facts and figures together the way they were in 76 when he won the race. It's his birthday again today, and that's what it was in 76. Bob Jane was just telling me before, he found 7 5-cent pieces in the workshop one by one, so that's an omen. He's got them glued on the dash of the car, so it's really Superstitionville today.
Well, Bob Jane, everyone knows Peter Brock's won the race 5 times, but this race, which had its origins 21 years ago in the Armstrong 500 of Phillip Island, has been won 4 times by people, including yourself. And today you might be in the role of being behind a winning car because Bob Morris and John Fitzpatrick are going very well.
Yeah, well, they're looking very good there. Gary Rogers in front at the moment, and our car's picking him up about 2 seconds a lap. So we figure that Bobby's car will be in front about 3 or 4 laps.
Now, I think that you might be slightly superstitious, Bob, because I noticed that all the crew are wearing green hats. But notice what Bob Jane is wearing.
Oh, no, well, that's a coincidence. But, you know, we need everything going for us, Evan. A bit of superstition, a bit of good luck, and a lot of preparation.
Right. Bob Jane. By the way, keep your eye at some stage in the future on car 9. That's Kev Bartlett. I was talking to him just a few minutes ago before he went out onto the track. He said, I can't win the race, but I can break the lap record. And Kevin Bartlett, the man who was the first in a single-seater to do a lap here at 100 miles an hour, has that target firmly in his sights after the disappointments earlier today. So watch KB in 9. Back to you, Mike Raymond.
Thanks very much, Evan. We pick up as we follow the cars going through the top of the mountain, that gap that still keeps coming down between Gary Rogers and Bobby Morris. And Rogers now finds himself in amongst a lot of traffic at the top of the mountain, in behind one of the Masterton Team Capri cars. He'll try and swing out and rid himself of being caught behind there, so he can keep Morris at bay. Okay, swinging across. Let's have a look now, courtesy of IBM, as an update of the top 10 positions. In Commodore number 11, Gary Rogers and Benson Brown on 84 laps completed. They lead the race narrowly from the Falcon number 7, Bob Morris and John Fitzpatrick. In third position is Dick Johnson and John French presently at the wheel. And surprise, in fourth place, outright, is the Mazda number 43 of Alan Moffat and Derek Bell, soon to come into the pits. In fifth place, the Camaro 21 for Barbecues Galore, for Ron Dixon and Bob Stevens. Position number 6, the Commodore number 4, the recar entry of Alan Brown and Tony Edmondson. In seventh position, the Falcon number 20, Joe Moore and Christine Gibson. In eighth position, the Falcon number 18 of Murray Carter and New Zealand's Graham Lawrence. In ninth place is the Commodore, the recar entry of Ron Wanless and Ralph Radburn. And in 10th place, outright, the Capri number 33 for Masterton Holmes of Steve Masterton and Stewart. That's our top 10 as we follow through with the race, and particularly with our leader. Well, that gap keeps changing. It certainly won't change in our commercial break. We'll take a break and come back live to the James Hardie 1000 at Bathurst. One of the most important pit stops in the race. Alan Moffat and the Peter Stuyvesant RX-7 Mazda 43 is in, out of the car, and sitting in the car now is Le Mans winner Derek Bell. Moffat very quickly in to try and help Bell buckle up. Their race so far has been absolutely spot on. They were running in fourth. This pit stop will drop them back one position. But at the moment, they're running well. Welcome back to Mount Panorama. And as you can see, the pit stop of the race, Alan Moffat has just stepped out of the car, is now trying to help Derek Bell strap down. Moffat, as you know, is a fairly agitated man when it comes to pit stops. I think they've got the Mazda running. Very, very quick pit stop. Derek Bell the co-winner with Jackie X at Le Mans this year, tries to get the Mazda RX-7 to fire. That doesn't take any trouble, and the Peter Stuyvesant International Challenge is off and running, looking for an outright at Bathurst this year. So Derek Bell is off and taken over the controls of the Moffat car, which has been running with that snapped front spoiler. They didn't even worry about that during the pit stop. And Moffat can now rely upon a man of great experience in Derek Bell. There's Alan Moffat, a little on the distraught side. He absolutely puts everything into his racing. I think he would be fairly happy with the situation at the moment. Okay, so Bell now goes back to join the race. The gap between Bob Morris and Gary Rogers is still around. I'm sorry, between Bob Morris and number 17, which of course is the Dick Johnson John French car, is 17 seconds. Okay, take it away, Gary, with Alan Moffat.
A very quick pit stop and the scent of victory, I think, in Alan Moffat's nostrils. Derek Bell now in the car, Alan, and you must be very happy.
He's going like a Pan Am jet, mate.
You're leading the class, you're leading the index of performance, and you're right on the heels of the outright situation.
Okay, well, perhaps let's hope we keep her going. She's going great. Derek will take a couple of laps to settle down, but it really is running fine. We're very happy with it, and seem to be able to get a bit of a lead on some of the slower cars across the top. When the spoiler came up, I think we lost a bit of speed on the straightaway, but we just took it up another couple of RPM, and that seemed to work out all right.
I was going to say, it's silly to ask you if you've got any complaint about the car. Obviously not.
No, it's stopping well. The tires seem to be working fine. You have to nurse them just a little bit, but I'm very happy. And I think when you can get to the halfway mark and be in a situation like we are, then the others better be running real well in another couple of hours' time.
Were you able to take in any of the dramas concerning the other front runners in the early stages?
Well, I don't know what happened to Peter Brock. The only car that's passed me has been the blue one.
Okay, things are running well, but I think it's crossed and hope they continue that way.
Keep up the drinking back home there.
Alan Moffat smiling in the pits.
Okay, thank you, Gary, and Alan Moffat, who grants a rather amazing move stepping from the car and manages to get the plugs rolling within 30 seconds. Okay, there's Derek Bell settling himself into the car. He'll be able to keep the pace up after a couple of laps without too many problems at all. Meanwhile, Bobby Morris still leads the great race for 1981, James Hardie, as Derek Bell comes down under brakes to this remarkable car. Moffat had hoped to run here last year, but it's running now, the reported version, and shows most assuredly it is a front-running car in long-distance races, everyone knows, overseas. Evan Green has had a very, very busy time in the pits this morning. He's come back to join us now. Evan, your feelings of the race thus far?
Because they've had, the Holden dealer team have had troubles with both their cars, which has caused a certain feeling of stunned disbelief there. Even the special tuning Gemini they ran broken axle, so that's out of the event. It's been a disastrous day as far as they're concerned, although Jim Richards is still circulated in magnificent fashion, the fastest man on the track, but a long way behind.
Of all the years you've been to Bathurst and all the races that you've seen previously, have you ever seen a race like the race that we had for the lead in the opening laps?
Oh, I've seen a couple of close ones, I suppose, but never one at the velocity that those guys were doing, or with the ferocity of it as well. If not quite leaning on each other all the time, doing it occasionally. And there's another visit to the pits by the rusty French Falcon, which has been a fairly frequent, almost constant visitor there. Leo Leonard, the New Zealand driver, a very good driver from New Zealand, does well in there, equivalent to the James Hardie 1000. That is the Benson and Hedges touring car race there. He's a man who's won that 4 or 5 times, but they're not going to win today. They've had a lot of trouble with the John Sands. Very well presented Falcon, but you can see there, Rusty very disappointed. He just pushes the car out again, car number 6. It's been such a busy time down there. I'm still breathless from the exertion of running up and down pit row.
Okay, another one going out, of course, that we've just mentioned. The race continues with Bobby Morris. What a remarkable tale this has been so far to come through the field. Sat off the pace a little in the opening laps of the race and has managed to now, through pit work, good and bad, on some other teams to take over the lead.
It'll be a great
great victory for them, not only because both Bobby Morris and John Fitzpatrick are a popular pair here, but a remarkable achievement. I can't think of a new car succeeding in its first outing at Bathurst. It's a very testing circuit. If anything is wrong with the car, it's going to find it out. A tremendous credit to the man who built the car, George Shepherd.
Yes, a very good man too.
I know George well. He used to navigate for me. He's a very methodical, thorough sort of bloke. He was saying that when he went, was given the job 6 weeks ago of preparing the car, he went to quite a few other specialists and Fords and said they all told him so many lies. But he just had to forget the lot. With the exception of Fred Gibson, he said he was pretty good. Fred used to drive Guy Fords, of course. But he had to do it all himself. And it's a remarkable achievement that the car is going so well. Just as the Alan Moffat car is doing exceptionally well. There's the Bob Morris car, John Fitzpatrick driving. I wonder whether the viewers really are aware of the very high calibre of some of the co-drivers who are taking part. We've got John Fitzpatrick with all those rocks on the track on the outside. Goodness me, there are plenty of rocks here waiting for Queensland drivers to edge their way this year, aren't there?
Well, there certainly are. We've seen a lot of it. We have that gap still coming back between John French and Bob Morris. They're still hard at it.
The same about John Fitzpatrick. Now, he is a professional race driver, and he's in fact been racing Porsches, the 935 models, which are even more fearsome machines than the Falcon he's pedaling at the moment. Much more powerful, probably as much as twice the horsepower of this car, and he runs into the IMSA events and other long-distance classics there. He's had a couple of wins this year. That's Joe Moore in the Falcon that he and Christine Gibson are running, the one on the second-hand borrowed and begged tyres that Christine was talking about. John Fitzpatrick said, I spent a weight behind. A, if I try and pass Joe Moore, I might have trouble, and B, if I get by him, also he might get a free feed at the tavern that he runs. So he's staying back and chooses a very circumspect time to pass. He'll get by. He should have the leads on the straight. And a very wise old head is that fitted to the youthful body of John Fitzpatrick. I knew young John when he came to Australia. I brought him out for BMC in 1964. Young John wanted to be a professional golf player, so don't play golf for him. So he's still good. And he came out, Paddy Hopkins was in the team those days, said, John was driving with him. This young John, the 18-year-old from England, Paddy, who had just won the Monte Carlo Rally, had an enormous reputation, said, let young John drive, he's better than I am. And John Fitzpatrick's been better than a lot of people for the last 20-odd years.
Okay, let's pick up on number 62 that swings through. That's Alexandra Serpil. She hasn't been doing bad at all. Running quite strongly out there.
The car is
the entry.
The car is the one that Peter Williamson ran for Mike Quinn a couple of years ago. It's the Corolla Levin, which is an interesting little car. It's the Corolla body, but it has the 1.6-litre twin cam engine, and they sell it as Levin overseas. We don't get them here, but it is a production model that's quite popular in Japan and in America. A potent little car. Alexandra has done very well in this. She did astonishingly well in the CRC 300 at Annery Park, finishing 10th outright. And she won her class for 1600cc cars at Oran Park, so she's having a good season.
Well, she's done very well. She's settled down.
Every picture tells the story. It's stopped, and I don't know what's wrong with it. Car number 63, one of the escorts, with the driver waving his arms. It's the Cherry City Ford. John Faulkner and Gary Dumble are the drivers. And it's the Cherry City car, I think, has just fallen from the tree. It's
Well, we have a good race continuing, certainly, because we've got John Fitzpatrick out there and leading in the green Ford, number 7. John French, who has taken over for Dick Johnson, in second place and still closing the gap. And back in third, of course, Gary Rogers, and they have, of course, effected their pit stop. Might be timely to take a recap at this stage of the race and just see some of the incidents that have occurred during the course of the day. Okay, Dick Johnson, of course, came onto the straightaway after we had lost Wigston down in the bottom corner. There was some oil on the track there, as you can see, as the Army Muir car went through in the 2 recars. Okay, he went for the protection of the Armco and left the car out there. Then, of course, we took you for a drive with Alan Grice. The car, of course, was then handed over to David Hobbs during the course of the event. The car was very, very competitive up in the top 6. But they were to have problems when Alan Grice, of course, put it in the sand dunes down at the end of the straight. Then the little Japanese driver who had to ask directions he couldn't make himself understood and figured out the only way back to the pits was to go and repair the car and go chase himself, which he did. And it was a long sprint back, which proved he was fairly fit.
A long trip back with a battery in his hands too. So that was all he needed. Oh, another one there, Mike.
Yes, we lost a few up subjects of the guardrail, and this was the critical pit stop that Dick Johnson wanted to complete without too much drama. Mechanics overseered it, thought there was an oil leak. Johnson pressured them not to. There was a driver change effective here as John French stepped into the car. Dick Johnson became most agitated with his own pit crew, and then of course went on to criticise them that they were being a little overprotective of the situation. That put them a fair way back, and now it's been up to the very capable John French to make the gap back. Number one on Bob Morris, and then of course later on Gary Rogers.
I was making the point a while ago about co-drivers, and an enormous burden rests on the shoulders of John French because he has to maintain the speed that Dick Johnson was doing. And you'll see some instances where the co-driver just doesn't have the skill of the lead driver. A good example, I think, is Clive Benson-Brown, who's taken over from Gary Rogers in the Commodore. He's not as quick as Gary, hasn't got the same experience, so he's under a very difficult assignment there to keep the car in one piece and keep reasonably competitive. But you've got, with Bobby Morris, a co-driver of the calibre of John Fitzpatrick, who really is good enough to drive number one for anyone in the world. And you've got Alan Moffat in car 43. We saw, they're not Alan Moffat driving at the moment, but Derek Bell, who normally has the crowd jumping on tiptoes down through the S's because he is supremely sensational down through there. And Derek Bell won Le Mans this year. Now, that's the world's greatest sports car race. And here's this man who's won that race twice, co-driver to Alan Moffat. So there was a very high calibre of driver. We've got Jimmy Richards out there for Peter Brock and lapping at the moment in the fastest times of the race to try and get back some of the time that they lost. And they are thrashing that car. They've got nothing to lose, and I suspect not much to win. But they're out to make the point. Kevin Bartlett, who had Bob Forbes, a very capable co-driver, vastly underrated, has the best finishing record of any top driver here at Bathurst. And Bobby Forbes had a good spell in the car, hopeless of course. Kevin Bartlett's got out, he's run and cracked the 100-mile-an-hour lap, and that'd be worth watching. If he doesn't crack the lap, he'll crack something else. And there might be a small car that gets in his way, because KB's in the really let's get up and eat 'em mood. And Alexander Surplus, well known very well. She has with her Doug, what's his name, that well-known character from Gosford, who Doug Clark, who won the 2-litre class last year in the Chickadee Chicken Salica, driving with Alexander Surplus. So that's a good team. And John Fitzpatrick down at the bottom of the straight, taking a very smooth line. John's about to go into business as a racing car constructor. He now lives in California, going to build his own Porsches, special tubular frame versions of the 935. And John knows what it's all about. And another man who maybe can tell us what it's all about is Gary Wilkinson in the pits.
Thank you very much, Evan. And of course the car we're watching on the way up Mountain Straight at the moment is car 7, the Bob Morris, John Fitzpatrick Carlton. Fitz is in the car at the moment, and I've got Bobby Morris over here with me in the pits, and you've got a big smile on your face.
Well, we're in front now, and John French is catching us, but John's doing a good job out there. The car's going very well. There are no problems with it, and all we can do is keep it packing around and see what happens with Johnson.
Gary Rogers came in for a pit stop and a driver change with Clive Benson-Brown taking over, and I noticed they had a slight trouble there. Jack seemed to get stuck under the car, held them up for a few seconds, so that was to your advantage as well.
Well, we didn't really rate them as a contender, even though they were technically leading on the road, because they were just coming in for their second stop, and we'd already had ours. And we don't think that Clive Benson-Brown is actually an experienced enough Bathurst driver to go fast enough and keep the pace.
Fitz obviously is an experienced enough Bathurst driver.
Well, he is, and you know, he and I have won this race before, and if all goes well, we'll win it again.
Bob, in the early stages of the race, I mean, you've always been known as a real charger, a real front runner, but today you seem deliberately be prepared to sit back and just let that action go in front of you.
Well, I thought it was a 1,000-kilometre race. It's ridiculous being mixed up, trying to lead every lap, when we could just hold them in sight, drive the car, what I thought was at a sensible pace, and sort it out later on in the day.
Well, the car, are you surprised that it is going as well as it is, considering the lack of racing that it's had?
Well, I'm pleasantly surprised, but George Shepherd has prepared this car, and he's looked at every small nut and bolt, and it's taken quite a few months to prepare, and unfortunately we were held up for some vital components, and we didn't test the car until late last week. So we virtually brought the car here untested.
with more than half the race completed now, obviously conditions are changing out on the circuit. There's rubble, there's rubber, there's all sorts of things that Fitz must be watching out for in certain parts.
Well, this is why we have to have such an experienced driver in John Fitzpatrick to keep the car on the road, because the road is very slippery. There are cars that are blown up, there's oil, there's debris from accidents, and it takes a driver of Fitz's calibre and experience to avoid all the problems that are on the road.
So the big danger, as far as you're concerned, now still Dick Johnson and possibly Moffat in the RX-7.
John French, I believe, is catching us slightly. At our next pit stop, I may get back in the car and do the next 2 sessions, which is a fair bit of driving. I'm not terribly looking forward to that, but we're going to put some new tyres on the car. We didn't put tyres on the last stop. They're wearing very well. They're Dunlop tyres, and the car's flying.
Well, the word is that you're got a 10-second margin at the present time over French in the True Blue Falcon, so you better get out there and just cheer Fitz on for a few laps until you can take over again.
Well, 10 seconds is not much in 3.5 hours, so it's neck and neck, and I'm glad to see it's 2 Fords up there. The Holdens couldn't hack the pace today, and unfortunately the Camaro had its problems, but the Mazda's still hanging in there. I think it's a fair margin behind, but it looks like an outright contender.
Well, 10 seconds the gap. That's the closeness of the racing. That was Bob Morris, and we'll be back shortly with more of the action from Mount Panorama.
Welcome back to Mount Panorama for the great race, the James Hardie 1000. And it sure is going to be a great race and a great finish. Evan, we've got the IBM computer system here, so let's punch up the 4-cylinder class and take a look at who's leading.
Peter Williamson, John Smith in the Toyota Celica in car 77. They have a long lead, as you can see, over the next car in the class. That's the Brian Foley entered Alfa Romeo Alfetta, Gary Leggett, a particularly good driver here in terms of his record at Bathurst, and Phil McDonald, the Gemini of Jim Finico, and one of the Goff brothers, rather, who temporarily won the class a couple of years ago and then had to take it away under protest. And then Alexander Surplus with Doug Clark, Mr. What's-His-Name from Gosford, in 4th place in that category, but a fair gap between the laps, as you can see. 86 plays 79 as far as the Corolla is concerned. Then the Lancer, Stevens and Bradke. The Escort, the first of 6 Escorts in the race originally, but back in the field, all of them, Mulville and Nightingale, and Ray Cutchy, Farah in Escort, number 61, running back there 72 laps, a long way behind the leading car in that class. That's the IBM report on the 4-cylinder class.
Okay, well, we've been following Peter Williamson around. I think it might be timely to step back in and take a look. Johnny Smith, of course, is the co-driver, and it's John who's at the wheel at the moment. As they head once again up Mountain Straight in the direction of GTX Bend. We can't clean the windscreen for you at home, but still a good picture as he heads up the hill in the direction of BP Cutting.
This is the steepest part of the circuit. Grade is 1 in 6.8, which you can walk up, but it's pretty steep. You can see that. That's the pitch where it's steep and tight. A little bit of a bump there where cars, particularly those with a very rigidly set suspension, bounce around. Now John will go out fairly wide. John is the Australian Formula 2 champion this year, letting our other camera car go by. David Hobbs in the BMW 635. So it's a twin-cam Japanese car, fuel injection, versus a overhead cam German fuel-injected car. The 6 cylinders of the BMW pull away from the 4 cylinders of the Toyota, as it should. It's got another 1.5 litres in capacity. Let's see how they go through the bends. David Hobbs was saying he doesn't like it down here. He hasn't had much practice, doesn't know it as well as the pair driving the Toyota. John Smith, Formula 4 champion, and pretty former Formula 4, but Formula 2 champion. Pretty good at going through the bend, but not catching David Hobbs. In fact, Hobbs is pulling away, but as you can see, Hobbs might like it, but they're calling me. He's going quickly, isn't he?
Very much so.
He's got a slow particular car right in front of him. Now he takes a wide line out, brushes the Valvoline paint off the fence, and goes down Conway. That might be almost the last we can clearly distinguish of the beautifully painted black and gold BMW. Has disappeared out of sight for a moment behind the Dolomite that we're about to engulf. I hope you do pull out and pass him properly, Jim. What are you going to do? Go up the... That's better for John, rather. He had me so frightened there, I got his name confused. I thought he was going to pay a visit to the spare wheel.
That's a bit of drafting, but that's ridiculous.
Well, the idea is to get as close to the car in front as possible. There's a little bit of suction there, or certainly low pressure, and then you pull out at the last minute. Maybe John was doing something else. He might have been listening to the commentary. I don't know where he can join in with us, but he's busily braking at the moment down to the 100 mark, and now in tight. Knows there's a sand trap there because 2 cars have been stuck. The really tragic case was when Alan Grice put the BMW there, very openly admitted it was his own mistake, just went wide, tried to pass a car when maybe he shouldn't have got stuck. The other one I should mention, the Tasmanian entry of Garth Wixon. In practice yesterday in the wet twice, Garth had the melancholy distinction of spinning television cameras throughout Australia in the wet. Today he spun off into the sand, but it wasn't for the same reasons. I was talking to him afterwards, the engine had seized. He'd either seized a piston by the sound of it, a valve had dropped and caused the piston to seize, and with the engine inoperative and the car locked up, he spun into the sand. So not Garth Wixton's fault. And a sad end to a very fast and very talented driver in Australia who hasn't any real reason to look back on Bathurst 81 this year with a great deal of pleasure. The right arm signalling which way the John Smith-driven Toyota should pull. And once again, up the hill, the hard part, goes towards the cutting. You're going to swing round to the left. Keep to the left because there are a lot of rocks on the right-hand side. A rock like those, which you probably didn't pick up clearly, was one that put John Harvey out of the race when he was running in a strong second place going down the mountain. Picked up a sharp stone that deflated the tyre, put him across the road, bounced into the path of Graham Bailey in the Chickadee Chicken Saleek and put both of them out of the race. 2 very unhappy drivers.
Well, I can hear them. I don't know whether they can hear me.
Okay, can you hear us, Johnny Smith?
Can you hear us there, John Smith? It's Evan Green here. Are you receiving us?
Okay.
I'm not sure whether he's hearing us or not. The microphone is certainly opening. Let's hope he remembers that he's speaking to a few million people around Australia and not just to his pit as he takes the car down through the S-bends.
Can you hear me, Channel 7?
Yes, Johnny Smith, can you hear us now?
Yeah.
That's Mike Raymond, Johnny.
G'day, Mike. How's it going?
Not too bad. We're a little smoother than you are at the moment. We'll let you get through there.
Well, I got my hands full a bit, but it's good to come back. The car's going like a rocket, Mike.
You must be pleased in leading the class, John.
Sorry?
You must be very pleased leading the class.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've got a fair old lead in the class at the moment. I have a little bit of trouble with the gearbox, but that's about the only thing. I reckon this little car is bulletproof.
What sort of problem do you have with the gearbox?
Yeah, I'm having trouble with 4th gear. That's about the only problem I'm having. So I'm just missing 4th gear most of the time and just grabbing 3rd. But other than that, the car's great.
Where does it affect you? Where can you avoid using 4th?
Sorry, Mike, I've got a very bad one. I'll see if I can play with the radio a little bit.
As though he hasn't got enough on his mind at the moment, he's going to play with the radio.
Right, that's better.
It's better, all right, but you put us off air, I think, as far as the picture is concerned. That's better. We've got you back again now.
Sorry, hang on, I'll just get up a bit. get a little bit busy here for a second.
Yeah, don't apologise. You've got more to do than we have at the moment, I suspect. Well, let me put it another way. It's a bit more drastic if you make a mistake.
Okay, now you've got a straightaway, John. Where's fourth gear giving you the greatest problem?
I'm sorry, mate. I'm just going up the mountain straight now. The car's going extremely well. There we go.
Well, now, you may have seen John there, went straight from third up to fifth gear, had to dodge fourth, so it's up mountain straight that he can't use it, where he could do with it, because that's a hard pull, and he will be losing just a second or two up there, because that fourth would have been a critical one. Back into third now, as you can see, as he goes fighting around XL Bend up towards the cutting. He may pick up second here in a while. We'll just see as he goes through the steepest part of the circuit. Looks like he's going for a handbrake. I don't think he's doing a handbrake turn. Or maybe he's got John French's habit. There he is, back into second. John French, who's driving in the Dick Johnson car, takes food and eats as he drives along. Has a bit of a picnic. I think that John Smith, though, is a little bit too busy to indulge in such French-like pastimes.
Yes, below. Come back, mate.
John Smith talking to his pit at the
Roger,
moment.
mate, okay.
Just a conversation between John Smith, the driver, and Peter Williamson, who's now sitting in the pits. A very good style, almost a classic style there, hands on the wheel, about the, as you can see, the 10 to 2 position. Flame-proof driving gloves, those very bulky gloves, in case there's a fire in the car. Slight blackout. Bear in mind that the picture is transmitted from a unit in the back of the car through the back window, and a second helicopter has to be flown above. And when you get those occasional patches, the blurred view like that, or a distortion, it's because the helicopter pilot has got himself and the car slightly out of alignment, say under a tree like that. It's extraordinary flying by the pilot to get right above in the clear zone where the picture is being beamed. And just remember that the speed that he's driving and over this difficult course, there's a man above him in a helicopter flying exactly the same path to bring you this picture. The path then is beamed from the helicopter to a land signal base in Bathurst and then relayed back through the normal system.
John, Mike Raymond again, if you can hear me. He got swept off the road then when Bob Morris went past. Actually, you might stay because you can see how quickly that little Toyota can, under brakes, get back on level terms with the V8. But as soon as you get one open straightaway, whoom, he's off and run. Just 1 sec, we'll try and see if we can establish contact. Okay, Johnny, it's Mike Raymond again. Can you read me?
Yes, I can just hear you, Mike. I haven't got a real good earpiece in my helmet, but I can pick you up all right.
That's okay. How disconcerting is it being a commentator and trying to race a car?
Oh, well, I'm no Willow, that's for sure. And I'm never used to racing my sort of cars. You never get a chance to have someone plug a microphone and a speaker into your helmet. So it's a little bit disconcerting in the middle of a corner or something.
Okay, well, we're following you up Mountain Straight. We expect the Johnson car, yes, and of course the race leader is still Bobby Morris. So we'll let you get back to racing. Thanks very much for your time.
And a very close battle going on for that lead that you mentioned, Mike Raymond, because the gap between those two leading cars, John Fitzpatrick in car 7 and John French in car 17, has now shriveled down to only 3.8 seconds. So John French, the maybe underrated Queensland driver who's been driving here ever since Bathurst was invented, I'm sure, is catching the very highly rated international driver John Fitzpatrick, and at the rate of several seconds a lap. Gary Leggett car there following Alan Moffat through, and then getting out of the way in case any other faster cars are coming. He can see a Commodore there who'll have more pace up the hill, so Leggett puts the lovely Alfetta over to one side, makes an awkward line for himself, and the Commodore sweeps by.
Okay, we've still got plenty of interest going with Dick Johnson's co-driver, John French, still closing a little bit by a little bit on the race leader, Bobby Morris. Okay, we'll take a break and return with more interesting action from Mount Panorama at Bathurst. Welcome back to Mount Panorama. We've got one of America's favourites, the Camaros, still out there and running in contention. It's the number 21 Camaro that we pick up coming down into pit straight. Ron Dixon and Bob Stevens for barbecues galore, and they've got good reason to rejoice. They've been running strongly all day.
They've really got the fire going there, I say. It looks like Bob Stevens driving the car. It's a left-hand drive car, and Bob's very experienced in driving big cars, running things like Mustangs and so on. This wouldn't be a problem to him. You know, the Camaro's a huge car by implication, but it's not the biggest car in the race in terms of engine capacity. That honour belongs to the Falcons. They're 5.8 litres and a good 25 cc's bigger than the engines running in the Chev Camaros. They're a lower car and you know, not as bulky as the Falcons, but they are a heavy car.
This is certainly carrying a lot more handicap in terms of weight.
That's right.
Well, there's Ron Dixon. He's had problems. It goes to show the problems that Bartlett had earlier. The four-wheel discs have solved a lot of problems for the Camaro drivers at this circuit.
Clinton was so annoyed after that incident when he was hit by another car. He came into the pitch, he really was roping, was looking for some other hit. Calmed down, thankfully, when he calmed down even more when he found the man he was going to hit but had been a professional boxer. He had the sense to change his mind very quickly. But he was talking to Peter Jansen, who was, for a while, very, very upset over the fact that they were out of the race. And Peter could spare time from his own sadness to say to KB what a terrible thing it was. He happened to be behind in the front row of the theatre that witnessed the spectacle of Bartlett being hit by the other car. And he was commiserating with him and saying he was very lucky to have survived it, because that's one of those things where a moment of danger arrives and two cars do touch. And Kevin now is out of any winning chance, but he's still out there and hopefully going to try and go for the 100-mile-an-hour mark. But the track is so bad with the debris left from various wrecks. There's oil on the track, there's a lot of rubber on the track, and there's a lot of traffic on the track, all moving at different speeds, and it would be an extraordinary achievement if Bartlett were able to set a lap record at this stage. And there's the Ron Dixon, Bob Stevens car just coming up upon one of the two John Sands 3MP Racing Falcons. This is Rusty French with the New Zealander Leo Leonard at the wheel. Interesting to see how they go, because the Falcons are bigger in total capacity. But I think the Ron Dixon car may be a little longer in its legs. It's just tucking in behind at the moment. And under some danger arriving, as these two cars will have to pass another, so they'll have to keep their eyes open. No problem. The slow car keeps to the left. They thunder by on the right. And now we'll see if Stevens can make his mark. He's certainly just overhauling the French car. The brakes will be interesting, though. I think they'll go deeper. Bob Stevens, the head tilted back in a fairly characteristic pose.
Okay, we're picking up now from Terry Lee in the 7 chopper to Bob Morris, our outright race leader in the Channel 7 Bob Jane car. He's coming up to try and overtake Murray Carter, number 18, as they swing through. Now, not far behind, you will notice in a moment or so, here he comes out of the blue, passing one of the Camaros. I think on the outside is John French.
Murray Carter just been disposed of. I was speaking to Murray before the race. One of the most popular people in motorsport. Had the misfortune to lose time in the pits with a fan belt guy of all things. They had to change the belt. It was a pretty hot sort of process and meant taking a few things apart. But John Fitzpatrick at the wheel of Bobby Morris's car, being overhauled by John French in car 17. Nick Johnson in the true blue Falcon from Queensland. So it's Falcon versus Falcon, and only a couple of seconds. Our timer shows about 3 seconds, so it's a really close scrap in this James Hardie 1000.
Well, I think we have a very interesting race to follow. The closing stages are going to be really something. We've got John Fitzpatrick in the car at the moment. And, of course, the team driver for Nick Johnson, John French. You can see back just behind him, not that far away. And he's closed on him from 14 seconds to 12, 10, down to 5, now down to, I think, less than 4 seconds.
In fact, it's 2.68 seconds by our timing as they went by the Nick. John French, you can just see the very blue-looking Falcon coming in there. It looks like something you dip in the laundry. As he goes sweeping around the bend, you'll see him following up there. John French has driven a lot of different cars here. Used to be a works driver for BMC and drove around in Minis, and he switched to Alfa Romeo. He was at the wheel of one of those, and he was involved in that enormous accident way back in the late 60s when almost a third of the field were eliminated on the first lap. John French hit Bill Brown, who was the first to go, and John rolled an Alfa Romeo upside down and 4 times was hit by other cars as he lay in the middle of the track. He said the inside of the body shell kept getting shorter and more cramped, and he waited till all the noise stopped and then crawled out, and there were 19 cars involved in that crane. Well, John French, after all those years, here with a real winning chance. He's just following now behind John Fitzpatrick and showing that there's life in the old dog, the man who's been a top-line competitor here at Mount Panorama for these past 19 years, still showing that just because you're older doesn't mean you get any slower. In fact, all he's added to his pace is a lot of experience. He's been an enormous asset to Dick Johnson. John Fitzpatrick, the driver we're watching as he goes down through Forest Elbow.
I think that may well be that one pit stop is going to determine the outcome of the James Hardie, because we believe that John Fitzpatrick is due in. Our information from Gary Wilkinson in the pits is that he is due in with another couple of laps.
Well, you may remember that they made an earlier and unscheduled stop when Bob Morris, worried by what he thought was some sort of fuel surge, brought the car in earlier than they expected. And speaking to the team manager, George Shepard, he was very concerned about that because it just threw their plans out of schedule. It would mean they'll have to make one more stop. So bear in mind that the green car has to make, almost certainly, an additional stop apart from the next one. It may be very short, but it puts them at that disadvantage. Now, Dick Johnson will know that, and John French, sitting on the other end of the radio, will know it as well. So they know that they haven't got a pass to be in the lead in the race, because once John Fitzpatrick takes the car number 7, the Green Falcon, into the pits, they'll be in the lead once again.
Heading up Mountain Straight. The two Fords that have run so well here today in the James Hardie race. Bobby Morris, Channel 7 car. John Fitzpatrick doing the driving stint at the moment, and of course the ever-closing John French. They're probably closing only for the reason of a pit mix-up on the driver changeover. But French has played a fairly good role in this. He's been able to still conserve the car, but still make ground on the race leader, who at that time, of course, was Gary Rogers.
There's a lot of tension and the stress on the pit members. There is a prizes here by the Wins people, I believe, for the pit crew, which is a good thing to see. Remember last year in the James Hardie 1000, or the Hardie Ferodo, as it was then called, where the ultimate winner, Peter Brock, having been involved in an incident with another car on the top of the mountain where his car was damaged, came in an unscheduled stop, and because the car was a bit bingled in the front and began to steam just as he idled in the pits, his crew automatically thought he'd damaged the radiator and started to work on the engine. And Peter and there was thumping the steering wheel, saying there's nothing wrong with it. You know, he just wants to get the mudguard pulled out. And they did work that he thought was unnecessary and gave him and Jim Richards an enormous task to get back on and win the race, which they did. Well, the same sort of thing may have happened to Dick Johnson. Dickie came in. There was an oil leak there, which didn't matter. He knew it. He was in the car, and he knew when the motor was running, it was sucking the oil up. But the poor mechanic didn't know that. He gets under the car, and there he is greeted with a sight of oil cascading from the bottom of the motor. Assumes it's been happening all through the race and starts to work to fix it. Dick knows it's not needed, and therefore we had that little discussion in the pits afterwards when two very agitated persons, Dick Johnson, who thought he'd lost the race, and the mechanic, who thought he'd done the right thing, were having a few words. I think they're friends again now, but it does show the sort of pressure that the people in the pits work under. They don't know what's going on. The driver very often does. And it's hard for them to pass on the message. And a lot of good intentions can sometimes lead to a fairly poor result.
I think they'll only be friends when John French takes the lead back again, perhaps.
Well, there's nothing like a bit of clear sky in front of the cars to make everyone happy again. John French on the outside. It's interesting, you know, when it was known that Alan Jones was likely to be racing because of the cancellation of the US Grand Prix East and the margin now down to less than 1.5 seconds, a margin you can see for yourself. But when it was known that Alan Jones might be available, it was suggested that he should drive with Dick Johnson, and Dick said, I've got John French, I'm very happy. I've got the best man in the business. A lot of people said, well, let's take loyalty too far, but I think now John French has just proven that Dick Johnson's faith was well and truly justified.
He has great ability. At this stage, John Fitzpatrick, knowing with one more stop to do, they've got the Masterton team car just popped in amongst them, separating our race leader from second place, John French, at this stage, as they come towards the BP cutting. We'll follow this because this could well be the pass that determines the outcome of the race. John French. That good shot showing them coming through the mountain, coming up to lap one of the slower cars. And French is particularly fast over this part of the track. The slower car pulls over to the left. Gives the front-running two drivers the opportunity to pass with safety. This is where the V8s really stretch out. That will give you some idea of the speed across the top of the mountain. And he is now getting close. Really close. John French starting to dial in on John Fitzpatrick for the lead in the James Hardie Classic. Can he do it on Conrod Straight? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, it'll be interesting to watch them first of all to see whether there's going to be driving skill that gets past. It's Fitzpatrick versus French down through the driver's part of the section. If Fitzpatrick stays in front, it shows who's the better man. If he gets past on the straight, it shows who's got the most powerful car.
Okay, there we have it, the leader, John Fitzpatrick, and pulling out to effect a passing manoeuvre is John French for Dick Johnson. Pulls down the left-hand side of the circuit. 2 Ford V8s, and now we have the race lead change effected. John French goes through to take over the lead in the James Hardie.
And that trembling feeling you can see through the field through the ground is Queensland erupting. A lot of joy there, I would think, as the Queensland car gets in the lead again.
Wait and see if
they're both trying hard, aren't they,
yes.
Mike? They've both gone a little sideways, and John Fitzpatrick more than John French, I'd say.
Perhaps French has been made aware of the fact that Fitzpatrick is due in for a driver change and wants to try and put as much of a gap as he can between himself and John Fitzpatrick.
The way Fitzpatrick is dragging the tail there suggests they might be wearing their rear tyres a little bit. You know, while they've been passed, it's still a remarkable achievement that a car that has been run in only this one race is so close in second place to a car that this year won the National Touring Car Championship, has been the outstanding vehicle in motor racing, has been developed through the full year. And that's an extraordinary achievement by Bob Morris's team to have built that car and developed it so well, and to have come out and run so splendidly in their first run. I can't recall a car coming out first time up like this in private hands and doing so well.
A remarkable achievement, and I think Bob Morris made the right selection of a team driver who have already dealt with John Fitzpatrick, of course. Okay, over the top of the mountain, John French really starts to put some daylight between his back bumper and the front of John Fitzpatrick.
I think John Fitzpatrick got a slight handling problem. It may just be tyres, but the way he's sort of putting the tail out there suggests that he's just got a slight problem. Nothing that is too dramatic, but it does stop him from catching the flying car 17. That's an extra. Oh, isn't that a good shot? To show you the speed as John French hustles the blue car down the bends here at Panorama.
He should be able to gain another 100 or 150 metres by the completion of the next lap, and I would anticipate that John Fitzpatrick will probably be heading in the direction of the pits, perhaps for a tyre change, and certainly, we believe, a driver change.
Bob Morris will be there, and he'll be fairly agitated. Bob is one of these supreme sprinters in Australia. Gets very nervous in the pits, and he's really there, and I would imagine his feet will be itching for him to get back out. That's something he's going to be a bit wary about. There's Bob. You can see him pacing around. He's got to control himself. He can still win this race. But he's not going to win it on the next couple of laps. You can see him trying to relax the neck muscles as he's wants to get in the car and do it himself. He's got a good man out there doing it. It was John Fitzpatrick who drove that last crucial stage back in 1976 when they won the Hardie for 1000, when the very experienced Fitzpatrick nursed the car with the failing rear end across the line. Very emotional. Bob Morris had to stand in the pits and watch.
Here it comes. John Fitzpatrick. Bobby Morris at the ready. The car is currently placed second. Opened the door. He was hopping out early, but forgot all the jacks were there. Okay, Fitz climbs from the car. He's done well for the team. Okay, waves one of the mechanics over to talk about something, or assist perhaps Bob in buckling up for the next driving stint. The team is well drilled, well organised. Good to see Bob Morris back in motorsport, running in the front line. Sat out most of the season. Had a drive in the Hardie Frodo last year, but back with his own car this year. Okay, let's go trackside now to Gary Wilkinson, and hopefully he might be able to get a word with John Fitzpatrick.
Frantic activity here in the pits, taking on oil in Bobby Morris's car. Tyres also being changed. Bobby Morris is in the car. John Fitzpatrick is out. We've got to move slightly. We've got another car coming into the pits behind us. Frantic wheel change, car 7. The Morris entry having just lost the lead on the track to the French Johnson Falcon. Bob Morris, of course, now out to try and regain that situation. Tyres have changed. Morris is in the car and he's off. Let's try and get a word with John Fitzpatrick about the situation in the car as soon as we can. A very quick discussion here with the pit crew leader, John Fitzpatrick. John, can you give us some indication how are things going out there?
Car's going really well. You know, I was just driving the way they told me to. They set me a rev limit, and that's the way I was driving. The car's perfect. I just can't fault it.
You didn't make any, didn't do anything silly to try and stall off Johnson's car when he came up onto you then?
No, they were going faster. They're quite a bit faster on the straight, and there's a long way to go. It'd be stupid to try and win the race at this stage.
Is the car using a lot of oil? I noticed that they had to put some in then.
Yeah, it had used some oil, but that's the first time they're putting it in. In fact, right from when I started, the oil light was coming on braking. That was why I was going a little carefully, but it's nothing to worry about. That's the first they've put in.
Is it going well enough to outlast Johnson's car, perhaps, and win the race?
Well, I think they're quicker, and they're going to probably make one pit stop less than us, so we'll have to be very lucky to win. But the car feels good, so we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Reliability and consistency, that's what they're hoping for, Bobby Morris and John Fitzpatrick. The car back on the track and circulating as we return to Mike Raymond.
Okay, thanks very much, Gary Wilkinson. Well, Bobby Morris back in number 7. We'll follow his progress back through the field and whether or not he can put the pressure on John French. We'll take a break and return trackside to more at the James Hardie 1000 from Bathurst.
It's David Hodges or is Alan Grice at the wheel?
Back at Mount Panorama, and Alan Grice we're following now in the John Player BMW number 44, coming down in the direction of Forest Elbow. That will bring him back, of course, onto Conrod Straight, and we're hopeful of being able to have a chat with Alan Grice. We'll wait till he gets through this difficult part of the course and has the open spaces of Conrod Straight, gets through the gears and is off and running. Okay, Alan Grice, Mike Raymond. Alan?
Yes, Mike, you're coming in extremely loud.
Okay.
You're really giving me a good old fix-up in the ears, but I suppose that's motor racing. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly, Alan. Well, how are things now shaping now that you're back behind the wheel? Are you making up time?
I can't hear you well that clearly. I've got plenty of interference, but on the chance that you can hear me...
Yes, we can.
I'll just talk you around a little bit.
Yes, by all means. Go right ahead, Alan.
The car's running particularly well. You can probably see the gauges there. We just don't have a problem with the motor car, which is very comforting. Only
problem's been with that that blue that I pulled down there at the end of the Conrod Straight, but the car is showing no signs of wear or tear because of it. If there was any problem, I think Hobbsy's nursed it back to life. We're just coming up behind a Capri now in third. He's waving me through. Back to third. Because we've still got a fuel load on, I'll lose second here. Just lets it help us pull up the hill. 3.5 litres is asking plenty of it. But it's as strong as a brick-built outhouse, this motor car. Gearbox still feels too new, actually. It's still feels like a brand new motor car. Here's where we go for a good ride. We're third into fourth. We're flat all the way across here. That's about 120 mile an hour. Just to back off here. Flat again. Thanks for leaning there. You led to the seat and helped me a bit. What's this bloke going to do? Didn't see me. He's the sort of bloke you want a 12 gauge for. Wasn't a problem. I think we missed him by about 3 thou. This is the one. We've got to get that one just exactly right for this run down the straight. We're into third now. Into fourth. Into fifth. Now this is the one where you check all your instruments over and they're still fine. We're getting up on 7 grand. I've got to just get over to the left here so the back wheels don't come off the ground. Then back to the centre. There's 8 grand off it. That's 160 mile an hour. Back to fourth, third, second. Turn left at the bloody sand trap. Wave to the pit crew so they don't feel neglected. Back to second.
Well, it's a busy life on board the BMW.
Alan Grice showing he's got more talents than just driving quickly and getting out of sand slowly. This is the Gary Leggett car, the Foley-ended Alfetta. It looks like just a tyre change. They've been running second in the class behind Peter Williamson, but a fair way back. They'll need Peter Williamson to have trouble to take the class, I'd say. Just dusting off some spilled fuel there. Peter Williamson's in the pit as well. So things are really sharpening up as far as pit activity is concerned among the four-cylinder cars. There's a very rapid dash by our backpack people to go from one car to the next. Almost had a pit lane record.
Well, let's go back to Alan Grice for viewers of our Channel 7 telecast of the James Hardie 1000. Of course, this year we welcome viewers across the United States on the CBS network. And David Hobbs, of course, that we mentioned before, a broadcaster for CBS with their motorsport. We find it very, very interesting to have this discussion from Alan Grice. Alan, it's Mike Raymond again. Can you hear me?
Just caught me at a little bit of a busy time.
Sorry.
Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Okay, we're just coming up on another one of these slower type Falcons. He's in a little bit of trouble down here, but our car's good down here. Good and strong out to the outside and try and get a run at him. Okay, Mike, can you hear me quite okay?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you, Alan. We're just following you now.
There you are. His discretion's a bit of part of valor. Still in fourth, into fifth. How am I doing, Mike? Have you got any tips for me? Have you been watching the technique?
Yes, it's been very good. I don't think I can fault any of it, Alan.
So back up here, that's 162 mile an hour. Back to fourth, third, second, and turn left at the sand drop, not in the bloody thing.
Alan, do you find this distracting, talking while you're driving?
I can't hear you terribly clearly, Mike.
That's okay. We're just interested to know whether you find doing commentary distracting while you're driving.
It sounds a little as though you're speaking from inside a bucket, Mike, but I don't think that'll be the case. Into fourth, the wave yellow flag. The marshal's car is obviously pulled out of the race. Back to third here, and second because we've still got a big fuel load. Let's lift one over the curve. I'm coming up on quite a gaggle of cars ahead. V8s and little cars that they're lapping. I'm catching a lot of them. So I'm going to be pretty busy coming up shortly, I'd say. We'll pick up some of those cars as we go across the top of the mountain.
That's okay. I'm with you now, Alan. We have David Hobbs in the pits, and for viewers of CBS across the United States, perhaps David would now like to have a chat to you.
Well, I don't want to disconcert Alan too much at the moment because he's just catching up with that bunch of back markers as he comes into the braking at the end of the straight, up over this lump. There's the final crest, and just before that crest he's going to have to brake pretty hard. And if you look closely at the ground, you'll see two long black marks, there they are, disappearing to the right down the escape road. Well, those are marks that yours truly put there 3 laps before I made him a pit stop. And so Alan's got his hands full coming in there, and he's still catching up with these guys. I can't see who they are. But is the car operating okay now, Alan?
Yeah, the car's fine. It's I don't know if you had a problem with brakes or anything after I gave you the smouldering thing, but whatever it was, you've certainly resuscitated for me. The car hasn't got a problem. It still tends a little to lock its rear brakes up, but I left my sand on in the pits on this occasion, so I won't do that to you again.
Well, the car was fine when I first took it over. There's a nice aerial view of you now, Alan, going through GTX, so I'm watching your line. I'm the new boy here at Bathurst, and and Alan, of course, has driven here many times. Coming up to the cutting, this is the slowest point for us on the course, down into second here, and it's a bit of a lug round that tight hill, and it's quite a steep hill here. But Alan, he seems to be doing it right to me. He's keeping the right line. He must have been watching footage of me in the car. This is the bit I don't like, coming up into this left dip, where Alan just gives a bit of a lift. You can hear him just come up a little bit, but he's making a lot of ground on those slower cars now. Down into second as he comes into the dipper. That's where John Harvey came unstuck earlier on in the race. Coming into the elbow and out onto Conrod Straight, where Alan again is going to get up to about 160 odd miles an hour. What a gaggle of cars there. There's the Ford. He's just about to overtake that Commodore. Oop, nowhere to go. This is a sort of difficult situation for Alan to talk to us now, because he's got to lap that Commodore. As you can see, he's been really using the draft. American viewers will understand that fully who are used to watching NASCAR racing. But they're both catching up with that gaggle of cars in front. These are all quite fast cars that he's passing now. These aren't the slower back markers. These are guys that Alan's having to work hard to get by. Because the next car in line is one of those Ford Falcons, which has got about another 100 horsepower. You can see the car weaving just slightly under braking there. We've got a little bit of a problem with the back brakes. As they get hot and become more effective, they tend to lock up just a little bit, which makes it a little bit difficult. I spun it going into this turn, where he's being more circumspect as he laps that Capri. But we have a 5-speed gearbox, and it definitely helps on acceleration up that hill. If it wasn't for that, we'd be badly off because we haven't got the horsepower.
I was going to say, David, the car seems surprisingly quick to pick up after coming out of that left.
Well, it is, because we go through there in second, and so do they go through there in second, but we've got 3 gears to go, and they've only got another 2. And it does help our acceleration. GTX, he's taking a nice line through there, using up most of the road. Those 2 cars in front of him are a couple of Fords, which initially up through the cutting here should out-accelerate him.
What about the extraneous traffic on the circuit?
Well, it's very bad. I said earlier on in the broadcast when I was out in the car, I don't know whether you got it or not, that it's more like an obstacle course than a race course because that damn truck keeps coming out. And as Fitzpatrick said earlier, you know, you're caught between a rock and a hard place. You can't leave the cars out there, and yet that truck itself can become quite hazardous. And they warn pretty well. You know, there's the white flag. The marshals show the white flag, which is a slow vehicle on the course, and then they have the pace car following it slowly down the road with its flashes going. So it gives you some warning, but it is a bit dicey, especially along the top.
What's your impression of the James Hardie 1000 as a motor racing event?
I think it's tremendous. It really is an event, and I think that racing the world over has got to realise that there's more to racing than just cars. Obviously, and the James Hardie 1000 is really doing a good job. I mean, it's a proper event. There's thousands of people here. They can camp here and make a long 3-day weekend, and of course the racing, which is tremendous. And this is very like American stock car racing. The viewers of CBS who are used to seeing the Daytona 500, the World 600 from Charlotte, will readily appreciate these cars, although these are even more stock than those. I mean, these really are stock cars.
Okay, that was David Hobbs talking with Alan Grice and then talking us around the circuit. We'll take a break and then return to Mount Panorama at Bathurst. Okay, the most critical pit stop now for Dick Johnson. And, of course, for John French.
Well, John French not going to get out of the car, Mike. He's staying in there. So I think that they may schedule another stop then, because Dick Johnson would certainly want to do the last spell in the car. But French is staying in place, so it suggests it's a very brief stop. I don't think Dick wants to lose more time in the pits. Just fuel, they're checking out the tyres, a quick sip of a drink. John French takes a cut lunch with him as well. He eats food as he drives along. He needs a bit of sustenance. That was a quick stop. He's out. And I made about 35 seconds, less than that, 31 seconds from the time he came to a stop to the time when he left. The marshal waving him on down the road, which will take him back onto the track. And a quick stop. He will still be in the lead, but the Bob Morris car will be closing, because Morris has been closing since he took over from John Fitzpatrick. Morris has really been pumping himself up into a state of some desperation, I suspect, and he has been hauling back this car. So while they were something like a minute and a half behind after the pit stop, they put car 7 behind this one. The gap between the two now will be pretty close, because Morris is going quicker than the French Johnson car. And of course Johnson was at the pits for 31.5 seconds.
Back to Mount Panorama. As you can see, out there in front is John French, but believe it or not, as we went to that break, John French pulled into the pits for one of the fastest pit stops of the race. We won't let any of this race go without showing you everything that happens in commercial breaks or otherwise. So we'll show you just how quick, in fact, that pit stop was. Okay, the most critical pit stop now for Dick Johnson. And, of course, for John French.
Well, John French not going to get out of the car, Mike. He's staying in there. So I think that maybe he can schedule another stop then, because Dick Johnson would certainly want to do the last spell in the car. But French is staying in place, so it suggests it's a very brief stop. I don't think Dick wants to lose more time in the pits. Just fuel, they're checking over the tyres, a quick sip of a drink. John French takes a cut lunch with him as well. He eats food as he drives along. He needs a bit of sustenance. That was a quick stop. He's out. And I made about 35 seconds, less than that, 31 seconds from the time he came to a stop to the time he left.
Okay, that was the very, very quick pit stop by John French. They're off and running again and still holding the lead. Bob Morris, Evan, we've been looking at, was still closing prior to that pit stop.
Yes, he'd been making up time all the time, and undoubtedly that message would have been given across to John French saying, hey, he's catching you. He would have said, well, what's the gap? The gap we last had, it was just under 2 minutes, 117 seconds is the timing we have there. It was longer than that at one stage. But this race could be decided on pit stops. I would say that this car has one more to make unless John French truly is going to try and go all the way himself, and I don't think he will. And certainly Bob Morris's car will have to come in again for one more stop.
One of the interesting innovations of this year's James Hardie 1000 is the Wins friction proofing $5,000 award to the pit crew of the car completing the fastest time over a secret 10-lap section of the race. And the envelope that was selected, what was given to us prior to it, gives us now that the driver who was leading laps 36 to 45. Okay, we now join Peter Williamson in the car. We believe that Peter has received a ding in the back and may even be leaking fuel, but we'll get that story shortly. Okay, Peter Williamson, Mike Raymond, Peter.
Hello, Mike Raymond.
You have some problems, Peter. Okay, we'll check out the tail of the car and just see. He's coming up to try and overtake Brian Callahan in the Ford. We'll pick it up from the chopper, see if we can trace them down pit straight.
I can't see any problem there. I saw the cars that went by the commentary box here and didn't see any sign of damage, but he may have had a bump there. But the message we've got, Mike, is that he's leaking fuel. Is that correct?
That's correct. Well, we'll have to check that out.
Right, he's chasing the Big Falcon. And Peter McKay, editor of Modern Motor, has been sharing with Brian Callahan, the Speedway driver. BMW in the same group as Peter Williamson.
Okay, Peter, I'm back with you.
It may be John Smith, is it? It's a bit hard to tell. The nose outline doesn't give us a great deal. And they're probably wearing fairly similar helmets, but they've been into the pits, and I suspect it'll be Peter Williamson at the controls. They both even talk alike, so it's a bit confusing for us watching them from in the car. We might try again.
Okay, it's Mike Raymond. Peter, can you read me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. How's everything going? No problems?
We're running very strong. We've lost fourth.
Yes.
But we're running very strong, and we're back where we were a few years ago. But Brian Foley's help was giving me a hard time. You know, history repeats itself. But the Japanese invasion is certainly on with Moffat. There's no doubt about that. A nice little Japanese invasion must have ended at Finch Haven or somewhere. They've all disappeared, the Dadson boys, but Moffat's making a good showing, isn't he?
Exceptionally good. We had a report that you received a touch in the tail. Is that correct or incorrect?
Read attention in the first laps.
No, it must...
Oh, dear, oh me. I don't know whether you heard that.
We'll let you get rid of this car first.
Oh, here it goes again. He's got big doubles, that Valley. The Queensland car in front, he's backfiring unbelievably. But I was saying that Cams are considering giving us the freedoms that Moffat has, and Vigil will be one humdinger of a race if they do that. Because he's certainly proved the point, there's no doubt about that. We're going to have fuel, Bathurst, so beautiful.
What would that allow you to do, Peter?
We're going to do a demon break here, 200 yards. A bit under. Here we go. That flag there says there's oil on the circuit somewhere. Yeah, it's right here.
Peter, it's Evan Green here. You were saying that you want to make the same sort of changes
that Alan Moffat has made. What do you want to do to your car?
Well, we would like to. I mean, with Cam's permission, of course. We would like to receive much the same freedoms. His peripheral porting is sort of the same as having a 4-valve cylinder head on this sort of a car, and we would like the same opportunity to display our chassis to everybody in Australia, the same as Alan's doing, and he's doing a damn fine job of it. But when you've got corporate money like Mazda backing him and Toyota certainly help us, it's a shame that they don't just give us all the same freedoms and let us have a go and prove something. But you know, this is a 2-litre car, and you can't really expect it to climb these great big hills with only 180 horsepower. I mean, probably 90 horsepower behind Moffat, and it makes a bit of a disadvantage. But I certainly like the opportunity to have the same grunt. These are very strong cars, and I think we make a very good race of it.
If you went to 4 valves per cylinder, what would the other manufacturers do, Peter?
What, the other manufacturers?
Yes.
Well, Datsun have got a 4-valve head, which they run in rallies. And it's under the Group 4 regulations. Hang on. Oh, gee, where's Terry out there? Hi, Terry. And there's Fiat, there's Mitsubishi, they've all got them. It seems a shame to me that oh, that's better. We can't just all have a go. Poor old Howard Masters had to play around with turbochargers, and it's a very hard job. Hang on. Oh, dear me. There's the Alpha.
Well, Peter, we appreciate the fact that you're a commentator with our team, but no commentator's role is complete unless you can throw properly to a commercial break.
I'm getting some break-up in the cutting. I heard something about a commentator. Could you repeat that?
Okay, can you read me now?
Yes.
I just said that no commentator's role is complete unless you can throw to a commercial break. Let's see what you can do.
I didn't get that either. Mike, I'm sorry, there's a lot of break-up. Here we go.
I think you've just blown your chance to be a professional television commentator. You might be quick, but you missed the cues. I think it's time for a break here in the... Oh, it's time for a break, all right. Maybe it's time for us to stop talking to Peter Williamson and let him keep on the track. Let's all take a breather for a couple of minutes from the great race.
I'm sorry about the bad communications.
Okay, welcome back to Mount Panorama. As you can see, pits straight away. Peter Williamson still in there, and Evan, the Alpha, is still there as well.
They're having quite a battle, aren't they, with Gary Leggett just following Peter Williamson now. Doesn't quite have the pace of it. The car not as highly developed as Peter. Peter Williamson is not only a great driver, he's something of a fox. He talks about this as being just a little car with not a great deal of development. It's almost a Formula 2 racing machine, the most beautifully made machine. Double overhead cam engine. So is the Alpha, of course, but the Toyota a bit lighter and a little more highly developed than the racing version, or the version rather that Brian Foley has entered. And so the Toyota has got by the Alfetta. But there seems to be a perpetual tussle between these two cars on the track. It's one today that Peter Williamson certainly has resolved in his favour, and he's several laps in front now. I mentioned some time ago the gap between the leaders, by the way, while we're watching some of the cars in these smaller classes. I mentioned 120 seconds. I was wrong there. It's only 38 seconds now, the gap between Bob Morris chasing 17 John French in Dick Johnson's car. So Morris is certainly catching the leader. 38 seconds is the gap between the two cars. It was a longer margin before that pit stop. It's now down to just 38 seconds. So that's all there is between the two leading cars. Peter Williamson, in the meantime, herring along at the top of the mountain. Gary Leggett in pursuit, but gradually dropping back a little bit in the Brian Foley Alpha, the Cinzano entry. A glorious day here at Mount Panorama. A little bit cool outside, but certainly a welcome relief after the days that had preceded it. Great heat in the early practice days, and then terrible rain later on. The flag waving for that forlorn car on the side to let drivers know there's an object to be avoided. As Williamson flings the car down through the bends, down through the S's, Forrest's elbow. Takes a wide line there, puts the car pretty close to the wall. Driving without fourth gear, has a 5-speed gearbox, so he goes straight from third to fifth. He'd be in third at the moment. He'll get it up the hill before he changes. Peter was worried before the race that he didn't have enough pace up the hill and was toying with fitting a lower differential, which I think he probably has done, which will give him more acceleration up the hill, but takes him to almost suicidal revs down the mountain. He's doing 8,200 revs down through here and maintains that for something like 20 seconds or so. Now, the racing engine on which this is based will go to 9,200, so I reckon the bottom's okay, but of course he doesn't have the 16-valve head, which means he's got lighter valves which can bounce up and down more rapidly than the 2 valves per head that he runs with the closer to standard motor that he's operating with the Japanese twin-cam engine. Taking the widest possible line he can to get out into position where he gets the fastest line through the corner. Now sweeping around on the climb up Mountain Straight. One of the very critical corners, that, because if you don't come out fast, you don't go up the hill fast, and then you've dropped 10 seconds or so under lap time, and he can't afford that. Peter Williamson, the view through the whole array of tents and caravans which make up the supporters for the race, the various teams, support crews, the trade houses who are camped here in the middle of the circuit, up Mountain Straight, up and over the dips towards XL Curve.
When we get a chance in a few moments, we might take a look at the IBM call-up for the top 10, see how our top 10 drivers are running and exactly how many laps completed.
That's IBM service for you. Car 17, the Johnson French car on 117 laps and only 38 seconds behind the Morris Fitzpatrick car. So 2 Fords up front. Moffat and Bell a lap behind in third place in the Mazda RX-7. Derek Bell driving at the moment. Gary Rogers, Clive Benson-Brown back into fourth place now since Clive took over. As we were saying earlier, doesn't quite have the experience of Bathurst as Gary Rogers, and so the car has dropped back a little bit. And it'll be a big effort as far as Gary Rogers to try and haul back a little bit of time afterwards. Alan Brown from Victoria in the Recar car, and the Tasmanian driver Tony Edmondson. They're up there in fifth place. Ahead of that's an extraordinary result, isn't it? You know, in sixth place, the Falcon of Joe Moore and Christine Gibson, running on second-hand tyres, and what they could beg, borrow or steal, as she was saying, and they're there in sixth place, which just goes to show you to keep on going, just how well you can do it. And then the Masterton Stewart Capri, that's a good result also. A 6-cylinder car. They're running second in that class with the Mazda of Alan Moffat leading because the rotaries have been thrown into the 6 cylinders. The car that was leading that class, of course, was the BMW 635, which Alan Grice and David Hobbs have been driving. Alan had the misfortune to spin off into sand and lost 6 laps, and that put them out of contention. And there are the places on the IBM computer.
Well, the BMW in 9th and 10th, the Bond Smith car. So that's our top 10 outright. Keeping in mind the laps continue, and so does the support. Don't forget there's the Wins Friction Proofing Award. That'll be presented later. Motorola Communications Award we've already spoken about. Then, of course, there is the Unipart Rookie of the Year Award. There's 2,000 for the driver finishing highest in the outright place.
No sooner have we said how well Steve Marston was doing than we see him go into the back of the pits. So that's bad luck for him. So the Marston Capri in trouble. Joe Moore and Christine Gibson, their Falcon in the pits at the moment. It looks like a scheduled stop. They're running in 6th place, which is an incredible result. Christine could be well and truly on her way to being the woman to score the highest place finished ever recorded at Bathurst by a woman driver. She's at the wheel now. Christine Gibson taking the green Falcon out onto the track, and just see her there at the end of your picture, right at the top. The car was moving around on the inside road, which takes the cars onto the track here at Mount Panorama. You can see the stiff breeze blowing, which will make things rather hard, particularly for the smaller cars going up the straight, but makes them all pretty quick as they go down. There's Christine.
Well, Bob Morris still doing well, still gaining ground on each lap with John French, who's out there subbing for Dick Johnson at the moment. They're still out in front and leading, and totaling up some good money too in lap money, let me tell you. In fact, the number 17 Johnson French True Blue Prudential car has already collected $3,550 in lap money. The Bartlett's Forbes car, of course, $850. The Morris Fitzpatrick car, $850. And the Rogers Benson Brown car, $500. And of course, Peter Brock and Jim Richards, $100. But I think they're in the front running for the Wins Friction Proofing Award.
Yes, when Jim Richards took over, particularly, they made extraordinarily quick time. He was the fastest out there on the track, trying to make up time, punishing the car very hard. But they were flying, and when the others were driving around in times of around 2 minutes 25, 2 minutes 26, Richards was doing 22s and 21s. There's Christine Gibson. 2 young daughters at home. Would be terribly exciting to see Mum going so well. I think Chris could well and truly lay claim to being the finest woman racing driver Australia has produced. There'll be a number of other contenders, and some of them could claim to be on level footing with her, but none better. Christine Cole was her maiden name, and she really used to stir the crowds at Oran Park and other very demanding circuits by the spirited way she used to drive. Hasn't been racing for about 4 or 5 years. She retired when she had a family and kept out of cars for a while, but she's back in the race today. And strangely enough, her husband Fred Gibson, driving for the Nissan team, is in the smaller class. Here she is driving one of the big cars and running in 6th place outright. And husband Fred, who won this race way back in 1967, when Ford introduced their big V8s and virtually brought the V8 era to Bathurst. Fred won that year. And he's driving now a small car, and Christine, who used to drive small cars, is driving a big car, so things really have switched.
John Goss, who had problems early in the piece and went back into the pits, came back out for a while, still trying to scout that. And Moffat, in the meantime, continues his purge towards the leaders. He's down a lap, of course, on the front running too, but he's in 3rd place overall. We'll take a break and return to the James Hardie 1000 live from Mount Panorama.
Car 7, is it?
I got it. I got it. All right. Track's blocked.
But we have an enormous traffic jam. We've had a horrendous crash at the top of the mountain. By the look of it, Bobby Morrison, number 7 is around sideways. 57 is there, one of the Recar team cars. We have an absolute blocked track at the top of the mountain.
Damage at all.
There's a view from Alan Grice's car. He's there, car 44. He's just stopped. He's not in damage, but there are a number of cars. Bob Morris's car is there. Bob Morris going so hard trying to get up the lead. In second place, car 4, the Recar car, Alan Brown and Tony Edmondson is involved. There's another one there, looks like 57, a little hard to pick from here.
Welcome back to our telecast. During the break, we have had an accident on the top of the mountain. The race at this stage, as you can see, has stopped. Bob Morris, who was running second in the race, is one of the drivers involved. We've had absolute drama here. The track is completely blocked. A replay of it for you.
Well, Christine Cole is involved. She was very early there. You can see Christine on the left. Bob Morris came along. He spun there, the car going backwards. Christine was involved first with another car. There are cars on the other side. Alan Brown, one car just coming in the back and slowing down. I think it might be David Selden on the far side as well in the smaller car, maybe a Gemini across there. Let's have a look at that again in a little while. We can, Mike, just to try and pick up who got into stop. But Christine Cole, as she was, Christine Gibson now certainly involved. I think she's okay, though, kids at home who are watching this race, I know. But the track is blocked. Not all those cars are involved. The leading group, but there are about 5 cars caught up there. 57 is one of them. Now, here's Christine. You can see there's flame from the back of a car. A flash there. There's a little bit of petrol or oil spills there. Christine's car spinning on the left. Bob Morris's car shoved through by the car behind. He spins around and comes across onto the left-hand side of the track as other vehicles come pouring down towards us. 57 certainly is there. That's the Sutton Motors entry. David Selden and Phil Ward in the Gemini. They're in the front line there. Alan Brown and Tony Edmondson. Christine Gibson and Bobby Morris. They're all involved. There's a car I can't quite pick up that's into the side of Christine Gibson's car, and that was caught up in the very early stages and helped precipitate it. We're coming down now in the copter shop. It's car 11. It's Clive Benson Brown, who had been sharing that earlier on with Gary Rogers. They were leading at one stage, and that's gone sideways into Christine's car. You can see there, and they're the two that started it off, I would say.
Alan Grice, Mike Raymond, can you read me, Alan?
Yes, I can hear you, Mike. There's plenty of confusion up here. There's
can you explain?
Whistles running everywhere. I just started up. I thought they wanted me to. I'm just going to turn it off again.
Okay. Did you get warning of that with the flags before you just got there?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
Were you warned by flags before you reached that accident, or did you just come up on it as it was happening?
Yes. No. I was very fortunate that your Channel 7 director broke in and told me that there was a bad accident on. So I was able to get on the brakes and also get my arm out the window and slow some of the other cars. There's KB limping back, obviously.
Alan, can you come back?
So Kevin Bartlett is involved as well in car 9.
Just want me to move back.
Another driver there. A number of people being helped out. There are a few of them seem to be slightly injured. You can see there as they're being helped back.
Okay.
That's in the crowd. People shocked by the confusion of the scene there. The track is completely blocked. We have Alan Grice in car 44 talking there.
No worries, mate. How's your leg, all right? How's your leg?
I think I broke something in the hip.
A bit of a bump on the hip?
Yeah, I braced myself.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin Bartlett, of course, has an artificial hip joint from a previous accident in Alola. He suffered an accident in New Zealand. Thinks he may have broken the joint in his hip.
KB's okay. He said he's bruised his hip on the hip brace in his car. He's okay. It doesn't appear to me as though anybody else is damaged. When I arrived on the scene, there wasn't a great deal of activity trying to get people out of motor cars, so I can only assume that they've all safely got out. There's the beginnings of the normal mass confusion occurring, or is about to occur up here. We've got people starting to come over the fence, police officials running around, don't appear to have a leader at the moment.
the drivers have certainly decided that the rotor race is finished. I think the rules will say there'll have to be a restart. I'm not quite sure. I'm quite sure Frank will be going through the rule book back in the pits to sort out whether there should be a restart of the race. But it's just a typical scene of confusion at the moment. Doesn't appear to be a leader.
Which of the drivers can you see around there, Alan?
Yes, well, I've seen most of them. I haven't seen Chrissy Gibson, but then right from the beginning, that was the first car I looked at, and there was nobody in the motor car. She's obviously out quite safely. I've seen Tony Edmondson. He's quite okay. Rusty French arrived on the scene after me. I'm not sure which recar motor car that is.
It's car 4. That's the Alan Brown car.
Oh, of course, you're quite right, because I did see Tony Edmondson. He's okay. Kevin did tell me that his car is in a very bad way. I can't see any damage from my end, but it's obviously on the front left corner.
Now, is that Kevin we can see with Chris Cole helping, or Chris Gibson helping him there, just walking along? I think Chrissy Gibson on the right, giving her arm around Kevin Bartlett, and that'll be good news for her children at home, her two daughters watching this race. Mummy's okay, Cole. She's just helping Kevin Bartlett there, and she's okay.
Yes, I think Fitz was probably in that car. Was it Fitz or Bob Morris?
Bob Morris.
Bob, was it?
Yes, Bob had taken over and was making up ground. He was in second place, but it got to within about 38 seconds of the lead, Alan. They're trying. We're just doing a replay now. You can't see it. There's some flame behind. We can see. Clive Benson Brown has gone into Chris Gibson's car, but it looks like she and maybe Bobby Morris hit first, touched, and Bob Morris's car got hit from behind by Tony Edmondson, and Bob Morris's car is spun right round, and then Kevin Bartlett coming along behind in the big Camaro runs into the group there, and he braced very hard, as you were saying, and hurt his hip on the bar in the car. Kevin, of course, has an artificial hip from the accident in New Zealand in 1976.
They've just taken Bobby Morris past. He's looks as though he's got a bit of a bruise on the leg also, and he's in some shock, but he's quite okay and walking, and they're just taking him back behind my motor car into the ambulance by the looks.
That's Christine Gibson.
I haven't physically seen Chris, but that was the first car I looked at when I arrived, because it was fairly badly damaged.
Yeah, we can see her, Alan. She's just going into an ambulance. She's walking in. I think she's going there for transport as much as anything, and certainly they will want to check her over. But Christine is okay. She's sitting in the front seat of an ambulance.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, and we can see her.
I'm very pleased to hear that. It looks like we're going to start getting a few cars out.
Before you go, Alan, and thank you, you've really done an incredible job there, but before you go, what's it like driving in the race against people who are your rivals on the track and very close friends at home to see that sort of accident in front of you?
Well, I've started up now. As I go past, you can probably pan your camera and see the motor cars on the right.
Well, for the first time in this race, Alan, in the history of it, we have the pits absolutely bare and all the cars parked on top of a mountain.
There's Kevin Bartlett's Chevy Camaro, which was an early leader of the race, doing sensational times out of the race.
Yeah, there's the front of KB's car.
Yes.
The front of Chris's car.
We're just passing David Selden's car.
Salika, yeah. Bob Morris. I'd say there's probably, just doing a quick sum in my head, there's probably something in the order of $450,000 to $500,000 worth of damage just sitting back there. It's a very sad way for a thing to happen in a motor race like this. It makes no winner. It means that there's just no winner of the motor race. There may be a restart, there may be a winner declared, but unfortunately it makes it a non-race. Still, it's, every sporting event has its highs and has its lows, and I guess we've just seen a very unfortunate low. Hardie of 1,000.
Alan Grice just driving away from the scene of that accident in which those 5 cars were involved. 5 seriously more than that, tangled up there. The whole race brought to a halt, and the field now threading down towards the pits. We'll bring news as what's going to happen with the race, but the news from the people there seems to be that everyone's okay. There are a couple of people limping. Bobby Morris seemed to have a bruised hip. We'll just show it again. That's Bob there. Now, a little earlier than that, he and Christine Gibson seemed to touch as they came around the top of McPhillamy Park. Clive Benson Brown then came in and gave a thump on the back of Morris's car and spun him right round. Kevin Bartlett was involved. The David Selden car, number 57. Alan Brown, number 4.
I think we'll have to take a look at this one more time to have a look. Benson Brown has gone in to Chris Gibson. Morris hits the front and I think gets hit again from behind. He's just there.
That's when Alan Brown came in and David Selden on the other side caught up in it all in the little Gemini. He was a fairly early participant in that. Maybe the two faster cars were trying to overtake him there. There's only conjecture at the moment. We don't know what's happened. 6 cars involved. Just how damaged the Selden car is, I don't know. But certainly some very heavy damage to the others. To Chris Gibson's car, number 20, which was running in 6th place. To Bobby Morris's car, number 7, which was running in 2nd place and catching the leader. And to Alan Brown's car, which was also one of the front runners among the Commodores. And to a car that had led for a while when being driven by Gary Rogers. And with Clive Benson Brown, it came in so close he couldn't do much about it and just ran into the back of Bob Morris. And he is out of the running at the moment. Well, action here from the great race. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, Gary's
who knows it firsthand. Something about that horrendous scene at the top of the mountain is John Goss. Gossy, what did you see up there?
Gary, it's almost a repeat of the 69 accident when most of the field went in on the first lap. It was incredible, and the flag marshals were spontaneous. I came through the McPhillamy Park section and the circuit was literally blocked with crashed cars. And I just couldn't stop the Jaguar. I managed to spin it and get most of the speed off and just bumped a smaller car backwards. But most of the drivers up there seem to be okay. The officials from the club have been there immediately and cleared the situation and got us back here for a restart. But I'm not sure now, of course, whether that's going to take place. But it was quite a lot of destruction up there.
You wouldn't have seen what happened at the head of all that.
No, I know what happened, though. Chris Gibson, I think, was bumped from the inside by the little black Tirana. I can't remember the driver's name. But unfortunately, it involved Kevin Bartlett and Bob Morris, who were running in contention, so it was bad luck for those blokes. They're in a bit of pain. Too. Yeah, and Gary Rogers. They're in a bit of pain, Gary, but I think everybody's okay. I guess that's the good news.
OK, Gossy. Thanks very much. That's John Goss, and he was right behind that horrendous crash when it occurred. A monumental pile-up, over 8 cars involved, completely blocking the circuit and calling a halt to the great race. Back to Mike Raymond.
Top of the circuit, it's Evan Green here, Mike Raymond, just trying to find out what's going on, whether or not we're going to have a race starting again or not. We can see the scene there from our helicopter where the track is still blocked and the recovery vehicles there hauling Alan Brown's car on first, car number 4. He Commodore with the battered front end being hauled up. Bobby Morris's car behind. Spun round, went running in second place. Totally out of the race, of course. The crowd gathering around the fence there. Some pretty shocked people among the spectators too, fearing the worst. Those cars hit so hard. It's a very fast part of the circuit. This was a part where we had Bill Brown spin his car along the fence some years ago. Those of you who've been watching this race for a long time will remember that. And that was the same place. They come here very hard. It's almost blind over the top of the mountain here. You're coming through that bend with something like 200 kilometres now. So if anything goes wrong, you're in trouble. And that's what's happened. There are 6 cars really badly damaged there. The ambulance has taken some people away, but all seem to walk into the car or into the ambulance. So I don't think any really serious damage has been done to people.
Okay, Evan, I think Peter Williamson is also up there amongst the wreckage at the top of the mountain. Or down the bottom, I think he may have returned by now. Peter Williamson, it's Mike Raymond. Are you reading me?
Yes, Mike, how are you?
Not too bad, thank you. Well, what runs through the mind of a driver with all your concentration going on passing cars and you come around a corner and the track is blocked with wrecked cars?
Well, at the risk of sounding dramatic, you seem to spend all week here racing and you work yourself up into a sort of a state of motion to attack this thing over this long duration. Then when an immense accident like that happens, and I was sort of parked at the rear of the ambulance, and there are a couple of people hurt. Kevin Bartlett is carried to the back of the ambulance, and another person was placed on a stretcher and placed in the ambulance. And as I sit here now talking to you, I'm starting to realise that the risks that are involved in motor racing, you sort of forget. You tear around here and rush down the hill at 140 miles an hour and forget about it. You think you're immortal, and then a thing like that happening, and especially such a sort of an incredible thing. The whole of the Bathurst 1000 has been stopped by an accident. It's unbelievable. And because I'm sitting here now, sort of wondering what the heck I'm doing here.
Well, they're moving cars around now, and I suppose it gives a driver a time to reflect and think, why am I involved in this sport? There are the good times and there are the sad times. We're looking at one of the sad machines. It's the Camaro of Kevin Bartlett's going back down the mountain.
What a shame. I just can't believe it. I saw Bob Morris, who'd done such a brilliant job, first time out. Kevin, who was driving as good as Kevin can drive, and then, of course, I think I saw the Benson Brown car, Gary Rogers, that took to first place so well, and all destroyed in one big... I didn't even know what happened, but it's just so sad. And I suppose now when they drop the flag on this restart, the old adrenaline will start to rush and we'll forget all about the accident and go for it again. That seems to be the way it is.
Can you get the adrenaline to pump? I mean, can you obviously turn off now to some reality and think to yourself, why am I involved in this? You know, you've just said it, I'm not immortal. That could be me.
Yes.
And then they'll regroup the cars and say, let's go race again. Can you wipe it straight from your mind?
Us human beings are crazy things. You know, I'll drop that flag and every one of us will put into gear and go for it. And we were forgotten all about the accident within the first 100 yards of the start, I'd say.
The organisation of the ARDC, it seems to be very, very impressive in trying to get the scene sorted out at the top of the mountain up there.
They certainly did a good job. They were very quickly on the scene. They got the line of... Everyone was stopped and they got us to one side and let the crash vehicles through very, very quickly. It was most efficient. The fire crews were on the spot straight away, and I thought it was most impressive. It gives you a comforting feeling when you know if you have involved in an accident like that, there's going to be such reliable people as the crew that service these points around here, the flag wave marshals, the fire marshals, the safety marshals that service the circuit here, and most of them are club people. They're all motor club people. They love motoring. That's why they're here. And it's certainly comforting to see them spring into action like that. And they don't get a lot of training, thank God. You know, these sort of things only happen every now and again. And it's surprising how quickly they got to work.
You're a racer. If you had the decision now of whether let's call it quits while you're running strongly in your class, or let's race off the remainder of the event.
Let's get the job done. I just want to get the job done. I've been coming here for a long time, and it's a long time between drinks, you might say, and we're looking so good in the car at the moment. I'd just like to get the job done and get done with as much sort of credit as possible for Toyota.
Well, we thank you for your comments, both in competition during the day and also for reflecting on the accident at the top of the mountain. We're carrying pictures down here of some of the wrecked vehicles being taken back to the pit area. So I only mentioned a while back to Alan Grice, the first time ever to see all of these race cars on top of the mountain and the pit area bare.
Is Alan involved?
No, he wasn't. He fortunately got the word of the accident just by chance, actually, on a cross from the car radio.
Good luck.
But the officials are up there now trying to clear the circuit. We're waiting on some indication from the officials. It shouldn't take terribly long. I think your wife and family would be pleased to know that you weren't a part of it.
Yes, I'm sure.
Peter Williamson, it's Evan Green here. A terrible part of the circuit to have the accident because you come around there very fast, don't you? And pretty blind.
The thought crossed my mind when Mike asked me the question, what did I think after seeing such a thing? I suppose this car would be one of the fastest cars across that part of the circuit. I wouldn't lay claim to being the fastest, but we're certainly among the fastest cars. And I think if I came unstuck there, it would be an incredible accident. And obviously Morris would be doing nearly my pace, and he's a much heavier car, so the impact would have been horrendous, I would have thought.
What's the reaction in the crowd like? At first, people were shocked. We could see people weeping in the crowd, and we were fearing the worst. What do they look like now?
Well, it seemed when I first pulled up that was the situation, and then, of course, when everybody sort of got out of the cars and it looked as though there wasn't too much damage, it was a bit jovial, actually. There was a lot of funny things said. It's the mountain crowd, you know. They have a good time up here.
I went there many years ago when the motorbikes used to attract me, and I was there when Keith Campbell hit the fence in a Norton, which went 100 feet in the air and landed 3 feet from the crowd and bounced back on the road, and they all laughed.
Oh, dear. No, I didn't think that was a reaction. I thought when we all stopped, and there are the characters up there, there's no doubt about that, and they were sort of having their favourite jibes at their favourite drivers, and it was quite jovial, but it wasn't a scene of, there was no loutishness or anything like that. It was well behaved, really.
Oh yeah, no, I don't mean loutishness, but often there's an absolute reaction. You know, when you see a scene where tragedy may be apparent, people react in the strangest ways, don't they?
Yeah, they do. It was, as you say, it was very quiet. I pulled up and there was not a sound except the crews going to work. And the crowd did start to break into laughter, there's no doubt about that. But they do react strangely, and I think it was only because I think they realised there was no really serious injury.
Now, what's the track going to be like when the race restarts? We've got a helicopter view at the moment. There's an enormous amount of foam on the track being swept off, plus broken glass, bits of fiberglass and oil. It's going to be very dicey up there, surely.
Well, I think it'll be just in that section, which is a very fast part of the circuit. It could be. I'm going to have a good look at it. The thing that I'm most concerned about is that they pick up every piece of metal and glass, because with the tyres the way they are, they're very hot, and we've done a few laps on them. We could pick up a piece of metal or glass and work its way through the tyre, and we could have a flat and cause another accident, you know. So we've got to, I just hope they clear that all up, and that I don't pick up any of the debris on the way through.
Right, we're just watching now some of the helpers manhandling the Clive Benson Brown Commodore, the car that was leading much of the race off the track. The front wheels are splayed out, and the front is a sorry mess. The back mudguard has been ripped off, the flare, the racing slick there, going up through a sea of foam onto the back of the lifter. It's terrible to see cars that were, you know, the pride of so many people, just so recently now destroyed literally to tatters and to wreckage.
Well, I feel sorry for them, Evan, because like the Benson Brown car, it's done the most amazing job. I don't think anybody expected the car to be so competitive, and Rogers drove so well. I was watching him on the monitor during my break, and he drove absolutely well, and magnificently. And Bob Morris, I feel for Bob. I could almost break into tears like he does, you know.
What we're doing now is looking at Christine Gibson's car and the back of a car that I can't even identify at the moment. It's it's a little HDT, the Isuzu, the Gemini 57. It's been thumped so hard. Bob Morris's car. It's a David Selden car.
Oh dear.
Bob Morris says, well, goodness me, Bob has taken some hard hits there. He looked as though he was limping, and someone said he had sore legs. I can believe that, because around the front, just behind the wheel on the driver's side, has been crushed right in. He got a very heavy impact there, I'd say. Christine Gibson's car is smothered in foam. And now we're looking at the Clive Benson Brown Commodore from the front, and it looks really like a brick wall painted with graffiti. Just a slab of metal there with an image of a grill. Oh, goodness me, that hit someone very hard.
Yes.
Now, someone who hit, I think, was Bobby Morris from the back. Bob had got involved with Christine and then was hit from the side and spun round. There was flame for a while there. A couple of cars started to burn, but he stopped very quickly, and the marshals were right on the scene, as you noted, and really in control of the situation very, very quickly. There's some terrible damage being done up there, though, Peter Williamson.
Oh, I'm so sad. You know, it's just that they work so hard on it. I know Bob. I know George Shepard, who built Bob's car. George's a pretty famous guy. He ran the Holden dealer team, rally team, for many years, a Castrol rally team for GM. And he worked night and day on that car, and certainly it's a credit to him. First up start, it ran so well. George must be in the pits in almost absolute despair. I feel for him. He's a very, very nice fellow. You know that, Evan. You must have spent hours and hours with George. You know his dedication.
I spent weeks and weeks with him. We drove together with Jellic Knight Jack Murray, whom I hope is watching.
Yeah, I hope you are, Jack. Old Joey, I was going to send him a call later on during the day. He didn't come up this year. We miss him. We miss you, Jack. He's probably sitting up there eating away on a pie or a cake or something.
We're watching now the side of Christine Gibson's car where it was hit very hard into the broken wheel and the big indentation, and it will carry straight along the back of the Gemini, which is demolished. A lot of fuel will have come from the tank, even with the safety fuel tanks. There's been a lot of spillage of fuel there. That car has had several hits in the back, I'd say, as it was spun around. But I must confess that I was very concerned for Christine Gibson, because we could see her car there with some very severe-looking marks on the side of the car.
We have information down from the Hardie Centre that an official announcement regarding the race is to be made within a matter of seconds, so we'll cross down there.
With the decision on the fate of the race from the Australian Racing Drivers Club, Ivan Stibbard.
Well, the decision is that the race is now concluded. We have covered 120 laps, and the regulations say that after 60% of the distance has been covered and the red flag is used, the race must be declared. We cannot have a restart.
Well, that means that Dick Johnson is the winner under those conditions?
Yes, he has won.
Ivan, what reports have you had from the top of the mountain? Has anybody been badly hurt?
Not that we can see. They're in the ambulance coming down. They seem okay. We don't know. All I was concerned about is trying to get the track cleared, and there's quite a mess up there, and it would take at least an hour and a half to clear it up, and under the circumstances, this is the way we've got to go.
Well, I guess your organisation and the stewards are going to be working long hours into tonight to sort this tangle out.
Yes, we are.
Would there have been any choice, had the track, could the track have been cleared, would you have continued the race?
No, we can't. The regulations are quite definite, not only our regulations, but the regulations of the FIA, that once the red flag is used, which it had to be, the track was completely blocked, the race must be declared after 60% of the distance has been covered.
That's the word from Ivan Stibbard from the Australian Racing Drivers Club. The race has been declared finished following that monumental accident on top of the mountain, blocking the track. And with 122 laps completed, Dick Johnson is the winner under these circumstances of the 1981 James Hardie 1000. Let's go back now to Mike Raymond momentarily in our commentary position. Meantime, Mike, I'll hand over to you and I'll try and get a hold of some of the people that were actually involved in that incident on the mountain.
Thank you, Gary. Well, accident last year took Dick Johnson out of the race at the top of the mountain, or heading up to the top of the mountain, and the race being declared as a result in favour of Dick Johnson following the race stoppage because the track being blocked. I don't think that Dick would have liked to have won the race in these circumstances. Do you, Evan?
Well, except that he was leading, he was in front, he was going to win it, I think.
Yeah.
He'd have a great load off his mind because Dick would have been, he wouldn't have wanted to win, of course. A strange situation. Probably Bob Morris will be second, is how we're looking at now, being hauled up. The race will be terminated when they last cross the finish line, I would assume, which would mean that Bob Morris, whose car we can see being hauled onto the recovery vehicle, will be declared second, he and John Fitzpatrick. But no one wanted the race to finish this way, but the one good element apparently is that no one has been badly hurt. Dick Johnson now, it's just starting to sink into him that he has won the race. The man who last year lost it after 17 laps and hit a rock and promoted that spontaneous, incredible reaction by you, the viewing public across Australia, who have enabled Dick Johnson to go motor racing this year. And it's your victory. And they're about to speak to the man who has won the race, with Peter Brock moving in to congratulate him, and Vern Schuppen. They're very pleased. You couldn't have had a more popular winner, Johnny Harvey, moving in as well. This shows you the spirit between the rivals. And let's go down now to Gary Wilkinson to talk to the winner of the 1981 James Hardie 1000, Dick Johnson.
The pandemonium continues in pit row following this dramatic conclusion to the race and the declaration. You probably heard the shout when the words were declared by Ivan Stibbard that the race had been officially declared finished and that Dick Johnson was the winner. Dick, a hell of a way to win a race. We got our names right for once, hey? A hell of a way to win a race, but you were front running at the time, and I guess that's what counts.
Well, the car was looking really well, so who knows, you know, anything can go wrong, I know that, but it's a bad way to finish a race. It's very unlucky for the other guys that were involved in the incident up there.
Yeah.
And just for the whole scene, you know, it's one hell of a shame.
Jill, it must be a horrendous situation for wives in these circumstances, and Dick was not involved, but I mean, it must flash through your mind for one awful moment.
Sure does, Harry, it sure does, but today was his day. Thank heavens for that.
Australian Touring Car Champion and King of the Mountain, Dick Johnson, and a just reward despite the circumstances after last year's effort.
Gary, I'd just like to say thanks very much to all those people in Australia who last year supported us, because I feel sure that if we had the right chance, we could do something with it. And I'm just thankful we have, because now I feel as though I've done justice to all those people that have helped us.
An emotionally draining experience, even though Dick Johnson wasn't involved in that smash-up. A round of applause here for Dick, Touring Car Champion and winner of the the James Hardie 1000. Everybody's getting a little carried away as we take you back to Mike Raymond in our central commentary position.
Thank you very much. We'll obviously be following the race and recapping it and talking to some of the drivers who were involved, not only in that accident, but also involved in class wins, provisional as they may be. However, for the moment, we'll take a break and then return live to Mount Panorama at Bathurst.
Denny said he knew.
I've got this end and the bit that goes that way.
We welcome you back to Mount Panorama at Bathurst for those people who have just switched on or walked into home to find out the race is declared ahead of schedule or completed ahead of schedule. The race has been stopped, declared, because of an accident, a horrendous accident on top of the mountain that had taken out Chris Gibson rather, and of course Bobby Morris involved, who was running second in the race. Officials under FIA regulations cannot restart the race because of the number of completed laps. So the race has in fact been declared in favour of Dick Johnson. At the moment, though, we'll show you on top of the mountain some of the scenes up there. There's the Gibson Moore car, the King George Tavern Ford, that was running so strongly throughout the day. And if that car looks in a bad way, you can also consider that Bob Morris's car has already gone back to the pits. Well, there it is there, and it's even in worse condition. Bob Morris, in fact, has limped off, been taken in the ambulance down to the medical room here. Doctors checking him over, same with Kevin Bartlett. But the door has been very severely torn, and the entire side of the car squashed in. That was a brand new race car this morning when we started the race. Well, the Super says everything. The James Hardie 1000 race has been declared, and the winner, of course, Dick Johnson. To be totally fair to Johnson, of course, their car was leading the race when it was declared. However, everyone is heading in the direction of the pit area to find out exactly what the class placings are. Evan Green mentioned a short while ago that the race will probably be declared on the previous lap, which would give Bob Morris second place in the event. And of course the other vehicle that was running so strongly, the Benson Brown, Gary Rogers car, waiting for some information on that. But a terrible scene at the top of the mountain after we had such a tremendous race, 1,000 kilometre event, was shaping up to be a duel all the way to the finish, with Bob Morris coming back to put a lot of pressure on John French. John French was driving the Dick Johnson car and may have driven it all the way through to the finish of the race. There was about 38-second gap. Let's perhaps call up shortly the IBM computer printout of the top 10 positions as they were on that lap. And we'll take a look down how the cars were placed. We're still up on top of the mountain, taking a look at the car. That's the Gemini Isuzu, number 57. That's already been brought down on the back of one of those quick lift cars. Okay, the completed number of laps of 121 was to see the Dick Johnson and John French combination in the Falcon number 17 in first place. The Channel 7 Falcon of Bob Morris and John Fitzpatrick in second. The amazing Mazda peripheral ported RX-7 number 43 of Alan Moffat and Derek Bell in third. The number 11 Commodore in fourth place, Gary Rogers and Clive Benson Brown. In fifth place, the Alan Brown, Tony Edmondson Commodore. In sixth place, the Moore Gibson entry that of course you've seen involved in that accident. In seventh place, the John Player BMW, Alan Grice and David Hobbs. In eighth place, the Capri number 32 of Colin Bond and Don Smith. In ninth place, the Privateer Falcon of Gary Wilmington and Mike Griffin. In 10th place, the Falcon of English and Donnelly. And Peter Williamson up in 11th place overall in the Toyota Celica number 77. Well, that's the scene on top of the mountain as we flick through for you the placings back to 12. Williamson and Smith in 11th, and the Capri, Marston and Stewart in 12th place. In 13th, the Camaro of Kevin Bartlett, involved in that accident on top of the mountain, and Bob Forbes. In 14th place, car number 29, Speedway driver Brian Callaghan and Peter McKay. 15th is the Falcon of veteran Victorian driver Murray Carter and New Zealand driver Graham Lawrence. In 16th, the Commodore number 26, the Taylor Kennedy Commodore. In 17th place, the Ford Capri number 39 of Nelson and Jones. In 18th, the Capri number 46, the Gates Craft car. 19th place, number 21, the Dixon Stevens Camaro. And in 20th place, the Alfetta number 50, the Leggett and McDonnell entry. Well, probably a disappointing finish to the race under these circumstances, as any motor racing enthusiast would say. People feel a little flat that they would like to see it go all the way through to the finish. However, with the track completely blocked on top of the mountain, it would be really impractical to be able to restart the event because of the time factor. It's going to take an amount of time not only to remove the cars off the circuit, but also then to clean up the circuit, because we have metal, we have broken wheels, glass, we have just about everything on top of the mountain. And in fact, the people won't be able to use the roadway up there for, I would think, an hour or so, or maybe even 2 hours, for the spectators to even get off the top of the mountain and back onto the exit roads out of the course. IBM printout following through all the positions as of that lap, so we can bring you a complete update of that. Well, it's been a day of tremendous action here in the James Hardie 1000. We've never had a finish to the race like this. Some of the great races around the world, the Indianapolis 500, have had similar finishes under spectacular circumstances. But we saw this morning, of course, Kevin Bartlett sit on pole position, and after the completion of 121 laps, I think it was, Bartlett was to be involved in that accident on top of the mountain. The printout continues of all of the vehicles as they finish. Many had their race done early in the day. Of course, Alan Jones and Warren Cullen, who teamed in the Advance Australia Commodore, were up as high as 6th place. Alan Jones took over the car, had problems starting it and getting it out of the pits, but then only completed 1 lap. So Alan Jones will certainly remember the James Hardie 1000 for 1981. It was an early withdrawal after looking a chance in the event for perhaps not outright, but certainly for a finish in the top 10. Okay, we are now going down to Gary Wilkinson, who is in our pit studio, and hopefully he will have Alan Moffat there with him. Take it away, Gary.
Thank you very much, Mike. Alan, undoubtedly one of the most safety-conscious drivers in the business. Were you surprised, though, that they didn't decide to continue with the race and endeavour to get the track cleared?
Well, that's the clerk of course's decision, Gary, and the organisers at their discretion. We did pass the mandatory 2/3 distance, so it's disappointing, naturally. I guess it had to happen here at some stage or another, but just where we were at the time, it's not the time we wanted it to happen.
I was going to say, in the confusion, I don't think I'm really aware, second or third, you were on the track at the time.
We would have had to have passed Bob to get second, so as it happened, we're third. I don't think you pick up places on the replay, so to speak.
You're surprised that an accident of this dimensions has occurred on this circuit?
Not really. It's a pretty hairy place. It's no chicken run. The demands on the driver mentally, as you get a little bit fatigued, the heat gets in the car. We're very conscious of the ventilation for the drivers. Sometimes fumes can be coming in, subtle monoxide fumes or just petrol fumes can just take the edge off a driver, and he sort of thinks he's going all right, but he really isn't. Everybody who's been a sportsman knows what that feeling's like. And I think there's always the potential for it. A lot of times the car is in a four-wheel drift. A couple of times there I felt like hanging onto the steering wheel with my teeth. I thought I was going out the door with the centrifugal forces. And a lot of things mechanically and mentally and just every other way happening. The crowd are waving at you, distractions. It's not surprising to me that something like this has happened.
A couple of drivers commented in interviews and through our camera cars about the lack of courtesy of some of the once-a-year drivers.
That's true. Quite honestly, I don't like to knock the slow car drivers. Everybody's got to start somewhere, but I don't think Bathurst is the place. And I think it would really behoove the organisers to start thinking about a shut-off time and, let the entry, get 100 cars up here on Tuesday or Wednesday, but sort the ones that are goers out from the ones that are just drifting around. And there were 3 of them out there today that, quite honestly, had no business being here whatsoever.
Well, the race is finished. Alan Moffat is officially third on the results list, and you'll be back.
Well, let's see, third this year, second the year after. And...
They're the words of Alan Moffat. The race is over, but the action continues here at Mount Panorama. We'll be returning to it after this break.
Gary's carrying that on 18. How'd you carry it? Okay, we will do that for you. We'll get a picture from that.
Welcome back to Mount Panorama at Bathurst. As you can see, the crowd's already assembling for a presentation of the trophy to the winner of the 1981 accident-shortened James Hardie 1000 Classic. We'll hopefully be bringing you some highlights of the race today, some of the drama that unfolded early in the morning, some of that fantastic racing that we saw in the opening laps of the event that saw Kevin Bartlett, of course, and Bob Morris, Dick Johnson, who put on such a tremendous scrap for the opening 2 hours of the race. The misfortune that struck Kevin Bartlett, how Johnson went through to take over the lead in the event, and the conserving role that Bob Morris played, only to be taken out later after taking the car back from John Fitzpatrick. Well, that's the scene down at the James Hardie Centre. As you can see, the spectators have spilled over onto the racetrack itself. They're awaiting to the arrival there, obviously, of Dick Johnson, who has been declared the provisional winner of the 1981 James Hardie Classic. Gary Wilkinson, meantime, has one of the team managers that we spoke to early in the day, Frank Gardner, in the pit area with him. So we might cross down shortly to Evan Green, but just prior to that, Gary Wilkinson with Frank Gardner. Gary on in the pit bay down there, but as you can imagine, the Ford followers only want to see one person at the moment, and that's Dick Johnson. Well, Johnson last year, of course, struck the rock going up the top of the mountain, and that put paid to his chances. So it's been really a 12-month wait for Johnson. He felt that he was a little unlucky last year, but in fact victory was robbed from his grasp while leading the race. And 12 months later, the Johnson car leads the race, but misfortune falls those running second back to about 6th in the event. And lap leader money, of course, we've had a good day for Dick Johnson and John French in collecting over $3,750 in posted awards. The Wins Friction Proofing Award for the best performance by a car, and this award goes to a pit crew. The best time section will go to Peter Brock. We'll take a break and come back for the presentations.
Because of the danger of fuel and oil leaking that has been present in the area,
Welcome back to Mount Panorama. We'll be crossing down almost immediately to the James Hardie Centre, where Evan Green, Dick Johnson and all of the victors who saw out at least 121 laps of today's race, they're assembled down there, so let's cross down there right now.
Well, as you know, the race was ended in most unusual circumstances we've ever had here at Mount Panorama. I hope you can hear me. You can't. Well, to you, 8 million people across Australia, the 5,000 in front can't hear what's going on. And you may not be able to hear what's going on, but I was about to say that the news from Bathurst is that we've had Kevin Bartlett taken to Bathurst Hospital to check on the hip. And as far as we know, that's the only injury. Bob Morris is shocked and maybe has a bruised knee. Otherwise, it looks pretty good from that great shambles of the accident up there. I'd like to be able to announce to the crowd, they'll give me a bad time, that because of the unusual nature of the finish, and if we could have these wires connected to make things a lot easier, the officials can't announce the places except for the outright first. That is known, that is clear. And rather than risk it without the crowd hearing, I'd like to hold off for a few seconds so we can try and see if we can get the people with the public address system to do it. Can you hear me down there now? I could try speaking real loud. All right, well, now you people back in your television sets, turn the volume down. I'm going to try and talk loudly. We'll try and get it fixed, but let me tell you this. Because of the way the race finished, we can't announce second or third or the classes yet. But the one thing we can announce with certainty, the winner of this year's James Hardie 1000. What you might call a popular win. I didn't even announce the names. I think you know that they're Dick Johnson and John French. And before we hear from them, let me call upon, to make the presentation, the chairman of James Hardie's Industries, Mr. John Reid, to make the presentation.
Evan, ladies and gentlemen, this was a very strange and unusual day. And I'm sure that while Dick and John wouldn't have liked it to finish this way, there's no doubt that they were ahead and they were certainly the winners on the day and they deserved their win, the more particularly after the very unfortunate experience they had a year ago. It's been a great win and congratulations to Dick and to John.
John, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you what, we worked very, very hard for this. It's just a shame that it had to happen in such a way that it never got right to the very finish. But, however, at least we made some impression in the last 20 laps or so, and I really think that the car possibly would have made it to the end because we had no problems at all. Everything was really cruising well. The old Ford, she never stops. To the people of Australia who supported us after last year, to those people, thank you very much indeed. Because without your support, we wouldn't have made it. and the people that really help us throughout the year. Throughout the year, the people that help us, like Palmer Tube Mills, our sponsors, and also the people from Queensland, the Ford dealers from Queensland, because everyone in Queensland loves a Ford, and I'm sure that everyone in Australia loves a Ford. And also to Prudential Insurance, who came in at the 11th hour to help us out for Bathurst, along with our other sponsors of Motorcraft, who supply us with all our parts for this tremendous old blue car down here, which never stops. It's finished every race that it's run in so far this year, and I know damn well it would have finished this one. And also to Valvoline, who supply us with all the good oils, because their products are absolutely fabulous. We've had absolutely no problem with them at all. And to the Bank of Queensland and TAA, who fly us all around the place, have done a tremendous job, because we've just support them where they support us. And also to our friends from Roe Valley Wines, who have been so good to make us this tremendous port, which I'm sure you'll all love to own one, because they're very cheap, they're only $10. And also to the people in Queensland, like the guys that do all the machining on my engines and things like that, to Brian Schuster, to Ronnie Richards, to Ivan Ty, to all those guys that have helped us, thanks very much. And last but not least, my little old fat friend here, Frenchie. He does a tremendous job. He's done a great job. He's a great driver. He's not only a driver, but he's a racer. Because how could you be 101 not out and still race a car as quickly as he does? But also to the boys, to Roy, right from Roy right down the line to all the other boys in our team, who majority of them are just voluntary workers. They just do it because they enjoy it. But Roy is the only guy that gets paid, and I'd like to say thanks to all those guys. We'll sure look after you. Thank you very much. Here's John. He'd love to say something.
Thanks very much.
And listen, we've got to forget, we've forgotten my wife. She really does a top job. She cooks for the guys.
I don't know how she puts up with it.
I'd like to thank her very much.
Actually, I think all our wives put up with a fair bit, so they tell us. I couldn't follow an act like that. Dick's thanked everybody in Australia who made this possible. He's thanked all the sponsors. He's thanked me. I've got a little bit of a rhyme that I wanted to put over the air to him when he was tootling around out there waiting for KB. I just said, come on, Dickie, go, 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 be like Frenchie. Ho, ho, ho. But nobody let me do it. They reckon he was too serious. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been trying 55 years to be here. It's a shame that it happened this way, but at least when it did happen, we were in front and going away. Thanks very much.
So Dick Johnson